Hi and welcome to PJ Maybe's YouTube channel. You're back with me and Gordon.
Hello.
So we're hopefully going to finish off season 2 this time. But we've been saying that for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, I think we're definitely going to get through it. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you take it away. Your channel.
Right, okay. Well, we finished off at episode 17.
Mm-hmm.
So the episode we're going to start with is 18 Holiday. And that was the one, was it Machello?
Machello, yes.
Machello, the alien who stole Daniel's body.
Yeah. They go to the planet and he ends up sort of coaxing Daniel to touch this alien device, or Machello's device, and they end up swapping bodies.
But I don't know, because he acted like a dithery old man saying, I'm Daniel, beforehand, setting it all up. So you didn't know if he was still the dithering old man.
But it's interesting because he sort of falls unconscious straight away. I guess he didn't know that. I suppose he wouldn't know that. He was just sort of trying to set it up to make sure. But he steals his body and then heads on back through the gate. Yeah.
And then he disappears and goes walkabout.
So what did you think of this episode? Did you enjoy it, or?
I thought it was actually a step out of the norm. I thought it was actually quite good, but I think it's a similar idea. They open wee bits and pieces that they don't quite close the box on. Like, for instance, the tramp. The one who friends Fred. Who he befriends. Just comes in, he's there for the episode, he does a wee, he helps her out, and then disappears. I suppose in reality they would know better or anything like that, but...
Well, I guess his relationship with Machello finishes once he gets arrested, and that's it, because it's like he gets arrested, and that'll literally be the last time he ever sees it. So
unless he saw Daniel, and because Daniel stays round about there.
Oh, that's true, yeah, that's a good point. Unless he bumps into him in the street and says, hey, you were that guy that bought us all lunch, how you doing? It's like,
that type of thing. So it's just, it seemed to open it, they didn't give any feedback as in, well, we want this guy to actually forget, so help him out, set him up, get him a job out of town, something like that. But they just didn't seem to follow out. All in all, but I thought it was actually quite good. What I did like about it is it gave Christopher Judd his acting chops. So he wasn't he wasn't the stoic Teal'c all the time. He was the Daniel Jackson. He was Jack O'Neill, and I thought that was quite funny because it obviously showed that he had a range, I suppose, because you always see him as Teal'c.
I thought, I must admit, I thought he played a better Jack O'Neill than Jack O'Neill played Teal'c. If I'm honest, I thought because. The way Richard Dean Anderson played Teal'c, I felt was it was okay.
Aye, it was stoic enough.
It was I don't know. He just didn't get the mannerisms right. Whereas I felt watching what's the name of the actor who plays Teal'c? Christopher Judd. Yeah, I thought he played O'Neill a lot better. Like, I thought he had the mannerisms down, the way he said things, the way he looked. And it was so funny to obviously see Teal'c. I mean, even his accent changed. I guess he would have used his like default accent almost, you know.
And I think it showed his acting chops. It allowed him to play other characters, and I thought that was quite good. I enjoyed that aspect of it. Even for a wee bit, he was Daniel. He's where am I? That type of thing, and he gave him a wee bit more range, and I thought I enjoyed it for that. Just seeing Christopher Judd not being stoic.
I thought it was funny though that they seem to avoid the classic trope. Do you know what trope I'm talking about, by the way? I'm just out of curiosity before that.
No, what one?
I'm surprised. I would have thought they would have swapped with Sam's body.
The
that's the classic trope, man and woman swap body, and then you've got all the jokes there about I
think they actually deliberately, I suppose, avoided that one. I'm trying to remember the Quantum Leap. Remember Quantum Leap? Now, Dr. Sam Beckett would become the person who he was, and then Al was the operator that nobody could see, only him. But he could see the body he was in, and there was a couple of times he was in the body of a woman. and he was in the shower, and it's a case of don't look at me and all this, and it's you see Sam doing that, but you know it's meant to be the female because when he looks in the mirror, you see the female face and stuff like that. But he's standing there going like that, and they've played that trope. I think they deliberately didn't because it would have been too slapsticky. Too slapsticky,
aye. I just thought, it would be a bit too. It would have been too obvious. It's a bit hashed and done.
I think if they had done it, the only way it would have worked would have been with Jack and Samantha, because she would have played the dumb and he would have had to play the smart.
That would have been quite funny.
That would have been funny, seeing her playing the quirky, funny, jokey, not quite bright, or pretending not to be bright. Obviously he's intelligent enough, but you can't get to that level in his career if he's not intelligent enough, but playing it down, the dumb thing, whereas you try to see Richard Dean Anderson try to be the smart, sassy one. I thought that could have actually worked, I suppose, if they'd gone that way. It could have taken all the male-female aspect out of it, except the fact fine well later on they're meant to underlying tension between the two of them.
I'm just trying to remember, is there an episode where that actually happens though, in later seasons? I seem to recall there've been some, but then there's been so many sci-fi shows out there where that's happened.
Aye.
And
I can't remember off the top of my head.
That. I mean, it happens in Eureka, which you'll be seeing. I think it's in like season 3 or something. The
good thing is, I've been trying to think about Eureka, and I know I watched maybe 1 or 2 episodes, but have got no knowledge about them at all. Because Eureka's the town, isn't it?
Eureka's the town.
That's the only part I remember. Somebody goes there and it's underlying things that they see, and it doesn't quite. I remember that aspect of it, but that is it. So I can't remember the characters, nothing. It was such a long time ago.
I won't say nothing to spoil it for you, but I mean, we'll talk about this next week.
Yes.
But I think you'll enjoy it. Episode, Michelle episode. What I really liked about the episode actually was it was quite. I don't want to say thought-provoking, as in philosophical, but there was certainly a philosophical element there where Michello is obviously he says he's done a great deal to fight the ghoul, right?
And he wants to continue.
And that, just in his mind, that justifies him then taking the body of Daniel, who then puts obviously the case forward to him and says, "Well, you know better than the ghoul. You are just taking another body as a host." I find it hard to believe that someone who's meant to be as intelligent as the Michelle character wouldn't have recognised that.
I suppose it's the selfishness of genius that they don't think about other people, they think about me. They don't think that the Gould are doing the exact same thing. The difference is they're evil, I'm good, so why shouldn't I live longer because I'm doing all this good? So
true. Yeah, fair point.
I suppose it'd be, in modern terms, I suppose that if there was a bomb in a house full of kids, or a bomb in the Prime Minister's house which he's sitting on, and they could only defuse one, what one would they defuse? The kids that have not done anything, or the person who they deem is important enough that if they died it could put the country into turmoil?
Prime Minister every time.
But that's what I'm saying. So,
like with this government.
But you look at Labour, they would have done the exact same. You look at SNP, they would do the exact same. Any political party will always put the person at the top.
Yeah.
Because it's not to do with the political party as such, but it's a case of they're justifying it as in the leader of the country. If he goes in that way.
Depends who's making the decision. Let's not name politics, but there's certain leaders. I'm talking about in the past who I think would have taken the self-sacrifice.
I think there would be a few, but not a lot. I don't think.
No. Yeah.
I don't think a lot.
In my mind,
but it would be
a couple in my mind, but
yeah. I think there is a few, but that's like, what's his name?
Have you seen that?
Was it the late John Smith?
What's that, sorry?
Who's the one that's got the statue in Glasgow outside the?
Donald Muir.
Is it Donald Dewar?
Donald Dewar,
I was
yes,
thinking
said
John Smith.
Dewar.
Why am I thinking John Smith? Don't know. But yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about him because of the politics behind it, but accordingly he was all about Scotland, and that's why he's got the statue.
Mm-hmm.
Just based on the one or two wee bits I've heard, that's a type of politician. He's a late politician. He never got to the height of First Minister or whatever. But yes, I think there would be a few who would take that decision, saying no, that's kids, end of story. But I think there's a lot they would argue the fact that you're the leader of the country. If we have to go through this or that, it will damage the country in the eyes of other powers, whatever. So sorry, but you're more important than a handful of kids that they don't know anything about.
It was interesting. Did you ever watch Black Mirror?
I saw a couple of episodes. I liked the one with the Starship Enterprise type one.
Oh, that was a good one.
That was funny, but I didn't see a lot of other ones.
There is one. I must admit, I didn't like it too much. It went a bit too dark for me. I was like, oh, no, I don't want it. I want to enjoy my time off. I don't want to.
Well, that's why I like a lot of classics, because they're all stupid fun. I don't like my entertainment to be dark.
In one of the episodes, like basically, there's a terrorist, right? Won't spoil it for you, but he kidnaps. I think it's a member of the royal family, and basically, it's like unless the prime minister agrees to do certain really horrific acts.
Yes, I remember that one.
Actually, is to fornicate a pig live on air for like.
Yes.
And he does it to save the princess, but he doesn't do it out of self-sacrifice. He basically does it because he's been forced to do it by the royal family. They're like, if you don't do this, you're dead, you know.
I remember that one. I did see that one, and I thought that was just stupid.
Grim.
How would you debase someone for saving someone else when you don't know if they're going to survive anyway? Because they're terrorists. They could turn around and do, haha, we got you, bang.
Yeah.
That's why you never negotiate with terrorists, because it doesn't matter what you do.
That's the whole point, though, because I think in that episode in particular... Well, actually, two things there. One, that's not true. Governments have negotiated with
Of course they have, but
they just don't do it publicly.
Yes, and publicly they always say no, because that way they can always, if it's no something it's personal to them or them getting affected, then it's a case of, well, we did this because we don't negotiate, but we do all the things at the back, so it makes it look as if we're not. I'm aware of that, but up front I'm saying the fact that episode it was a case of they did it, then that implies that, well, we know how to get what we want now.
Yeah, well, the thing is, so he did it because he had, like, his life was basically being threatened by the monarch, because I believe in, I remember that. So he was kind of forced to do it. I guess what I'm trying to say is that the noble choice was removed from him. He wasn't going to do it for noble reasons. He was doing it to save his own neck, effectively, or to save his political career.
Yeah, but I did see it.
Yeah. However, back to this. So just so we don't go to part 4 for season 2.
Yes.
I think on whole, Holiday was quite good. I enjoyed the wee trope.
It was a wee
Teal'c
holiday break from the standard going through the wormhole, facing the ghoul down and stuff like that. They just brought it back to the modern city, and it was Earth, and it was just somebody seeing Earth for the first time. Although technically not, because you had Teal'c and stuff like that being around, but you don't see him going out. But I thought it was quite interesting for that aspect. It was a break episode. It was a case of, we don't need to do all these fancy scenes and build all these sets. There you go.
It was a tangential episode, which was quite nice. Nice bit thrown in there with Teal'c becoming ill and then having to meditate to basically get his... That was one bit I didn't understand, though, is because, well, I don't think you ever see that ever again. Like, I don't think it's ever mentioned. It's never seen again.
There is a couple of episodes that do that.
Right. Okay.
Because when they start giving them the medication instead of the ghoul lava later on, he has issues with it. Then there's also the one with the robots. Was it Dom DeLuise?
Oh, you mean where they duplicate them?
They duplicated them. They used that because the symbiote didn't work. But I think later on they have mentions of that.
The 2 minds. The two minds clash. That's why.
Aye.
No. I was just meaning like I guess it's just a mechanic that I'd like to understand more, because it seems like Teal'c starts to get, well, Jack in Teal'c's body gets ill really, really quickly, and he starts to feel uncomfortable really, really quickly. I just wonder, how long does it take to get to that state? Because there's been plenty of episodes where Teal'c has been exposed to other things for a long time, but doesn't ever meditate, or at least not on camera,
Yes,
and
I suppose, but how would
presumably
you...
meditates later on to allow the healing process to
but
occur.
There's also the aspect of it, the way they sort of implied it wasn't like sleep, as it were. So instead of sleeping, does he meditate? So which goes into to do that. So other people sleep. They don't mention it off camera and stuff like that, because it's just part and parcel of their normal routine. So yes, he could be in a prison. He would be sleeping in the corner, but he could still be meditating instead of sleeping.
Yeah, that's fair.
I suppose they do that. That's the way I looked at it, is because it's almost a case of, they never mentioned about sleeping with the Gould and stuff like that. It was a case of, it was the meditation to do that. I think they did mention it later on in a couple of episodes, and I think one of them is when they do is it the toxin or whatever the chemical they have, so they don't need to have a Gould to help free the Jaffa. But that's a way down the line.
Yeah, that's ways down. I seem to vaguely remember that.
Aye, but I don't think they do it too quickly here. In the next couple of seasons, it's not really mentioned. But they have got a habit of doing that, bringing something up and dropping
it. One last thing I would say for myself is, Michello, when he designs it, he talks about the fact that, I think the machine switches minds. He talks about the fact that he designed it intentionally so that it couldn't be switched back.
Uh-huh.
But then, Sam just comes up with the basic sort of...
See, as soon as he mentioned that, I knew exactly how they were going to get it back. The fact that somebody else had twisted and they couldn't get them back, I knew what they were going to talk about. It was the old...
it's like the pyramid shifting,
yes.
So you got to move that one there, and then...
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking that this guy is meant to have been a war... he's super brilliant, right? Super smart.
And he couldn't work that out?
He can figure that out. I'm what? Which makes me wonder, it's well, why go to the whole... I don't know, why say that you couldn't switch back? Why not just say, well, there is a way, but maybe it's dangerous or something like that. It's maybe if you switch the mind more than once, there's a chance it become damaged or something. That'd be a good way, actually.
That would have been a better one, because you could still work around it.
Yeah, because what could happen, instead of just him dying naturally of old age, effectively, he could just switch that last time, and that's been one too many times for him. Yeah. And then you just have the SG1 team look like they're actually all dishevelled after it because they've been switched too many times or something like that. Or, maybe one or two memories that would have been good, actually. A couple memories get swapped between them.
That would have been fun. So you had a wee bit... I suppose it's like the Ancients later on. Yeah.
Anyway, concluding marks, what did you think about that episode?
I quite enjoyed it. I would probably say it wasn't the best episode I've seen, but it certainly wasn't the worst. I would definitely say in this season it's probably one of the top four or five.
Okay, that's quite high praise.
It
for this
was
season,
because of what it is, but then again, I know what I like and you like are different because of the couple of down the line. But I actually quite enjoyed it, just for the simple fact it was, I didn't need to think about this type of fun. And sometimes you shove a programme, I would rather put that one on than one of the other ones which I would class as a better one, but you have to think more. So sometimes when you're doing what's up around the house, that's the type I'd put on, because it's light entertainment at its best. It's not one you need to sit and concentrate to see what's happening. It's something you could watch in the background numerous times, still enjoy it, but it's not dragging you in. And I think for light entertainment, that is probably one of the better ones. And the way I work a lot, I do other things as I'm watching the programmes, so that's probably why I enjoyed that, because I could still keep up with it while I was working during the day when I'm meant to be working and not watching the TV, but that's another story.
Fair enough. That's interesting. You give it you put it in the top four. I actually thought you would have put it middle, because for me actually I would put it in top four. I liked the episode precisely because it avoided the traditional trope of man-woman swap.
Yes.
The whole
Although I think that would have worked for, as I said, Jack and Carter.
Yeah, I think
but not doing the male-female, oh, what's this and all this. The fact is, the intelligence difference.
Yeah.
You saw Christopher Judd got his acting chops. He basically got to play all the different characters. But seeing Richard Dean Anderson try to step up the I'm intelligent female, all that, and try to get Amanda Tapping coming down at it. I'm this sassy guy and that type of thing. It could have worked.
We already discussed this, but I actually thought that Teal'c played a better O'Neill than O'Neill played a Teal'c.
Oh, I think so. I think you're right. We did discuss it, but then again, because we were gabbing about it earlier on, we might have actually.
I'm just wondering if I've double confused myself. No, yeah.
But I think the fact that trope, they could have done the trope, but not fallen into the typical man woman. Ooh, look, I've got type thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of these slapstick type ones do. I think if they'd gone that route, it would have been to do with the intelligence level and the sassy man against the smart, intelligent woman. The two of them try to play each other in that respect. Whereas, as I said, Christopher Judd got his acting chops out and managed to actually play them very well.
No, 100% agree with that. Like, I thought he played O'Neill really. He played O'Neill's character really well.
Aye. I think that's probably why I gave it a higher level, because Christopher Judd, the way he actually played in it, because it was fun.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. I thought he played really well. The other thing, the other reason I would rate the episode really highly as well, actually, is that I did like the philosophical kind of, I'm so superior because I spent all my life fighting Gould and I made all these sacrifices, so I deserve your body. But then obviously being challenged. I mean, from a philosophical point of view, it's a very simple debate. But it's like you say, it's kind of a simple entertainment. I like that sort of stuff as well, and I liked it in this episode. And it was like,
I think that's why I liked it a lot more, because it was a fun aspect of it. It took you out of it. It wasn't one that you had to concentrate on. You could enjoy it without and just switch your brain off. And I do sometimes I like that. And I think that's why in this season that is one of my top, just for the simple fact is it was more light-hearted. It was more fun entertainment.
Yep. Fair play. I'm going to haunt you on what you've just said there, though, when we come back to episode 22 of the clip show, because that, in theory, by your logic there, if you just like a bit of a light entertainment you don't have to concentrate on, you should love the clip show, because it just brings you back. You don't have to remember anything at all.
See, I like clip shows, but not when they're like the last season one, with Kinsey. I don't like the political sides of programmes, anytime politics, and I've never liked that aspect of it, because I don't really care enough about political machinations. And
that's because it's not black and white, is it?
No,
that's not a criticism, by the way.
That's exactly it. I don't care. I like my entertainment to be light. I don't want to be ambiguity in there. It's good, bad, that type of thing. So you've got evil, good, that aspect, but all the greys. It doesn't entertain me. So
no, that's totally. I mean, that's fair. I mean, that's the thing. I think that's what these shows try to hit. Is they try to sit somewhere in the middle, because there's not a criticism at all, but there's people that like the black and white argument, and there is people like me, and I must admit, I do like the shades of grey. I like the fact that you're going to have an antagonist who's maybe got this goal and this goal, that's opposed to only this person, but it's actually in alliance with this person, that is opposed to this person, and then you just have this mesh and interplay. Because for me, that's interesting, but for you, I can totally understand that you'll be going, God, what's he? Why is he? And what's she? And
I think it's the fact that a lot of political ones. They always. I think it's a case of they always go to the dark side of the politics, because you've got other ones like.
How do you not like a politically oriented show when you love Doctor Who?
But I like the classic Doctor Who. I don't like the new stuff.
Doctor Who's rammed with politics.
No, really, no.
Oh, come on. Third Doctor, all about the unions, miners' strikes.
But the thing is, they didn't actually take a side. They basically...
no, they did.
No. The stories always left it open-ended. Stories always left
you,
it open-ended, as in, this is what we think, but you can think what you want, and it's not a case of...
No.
See, I don't see where all this comes in. I honestly don't, with the Doctor Who stuff, because that to me was just entertainment. There was a couple, yes, they had a bit of political in them, but when it came down to it, it was a case of the politics where you've got that politics, but he's got another politics, but you can have what you want as long as they...
I'll agree to disagree with you. What I'll do is, after this, I'll point you towards an episode. I can't remember the name of it right now. It's Third Doctor, and it's...
Green Death.
He meets a bunch of...
Green Death?
I can't remember.
That's the one with the big slugs, the big worms, and it was in the coal mine, and it's nuclear waste they're dumping.
I remember that one. Part of me thinks it's that, but I'm not sure. It's to do with miners, and he's talking to coal miners. And basically, for a BBC show at the time, it was actually really left wing.
I think that was the Green Death, because the Green Death, they disposed of nuclear stuff in the coal mines.
That might be it, but he's talking to the coal miners, and he's like, there's a line in there where the miners say, "Oh well, we've been fighting the bosses," or something like that. And Doctor Who openly says, "Oh, when will they ever learn that this is not the way to do it?" It's a line directly at like a lot of the owners and like the anti-union people saying, "No, look, unions are good."
No. See, I took that line as to do with the fact is it was more about disposing of chemicals irresponsibly and destroying your planet. That's what that whole episode was all about. This being careful with your planet as resources.
Let's watch the scene together on YouTube, yeah, and then we can dissect it.
I can fire it up at any time.
Cool, let's do it then. Let's do that after this. Anyway, right, back. So you liked the episode. You won it top 4 of the season. Yeah. Fair play. I liked the episode as well. I thought it was. I'd give it top 5 of the season. I think some of the earlier episodes are really good. I really like the Tok'ra ones. So
I must admit I did like the Tok'ra ones. I think the double episode probably the top in this season. This one.
Yeah,
I quite enjoyed it. Although one of the other ones, I think the next one is one of the fun ones that I quite enjoyed as well, and it was for the similar idea. It was just entertainment. It was silly. It was fun. It was. What's the word? I can't remember. It'll come to me, but it's light-hearted, but it was also poignant.
Yes,
because that's what the word is. Poignant. So it was light-hearted, but there was still levels to it. It was poignant, and it actually, I suppose, it was down to the careful with the environment type thing.
So, just for the people watching, if there's anyone watching other than Mum, hi Mum. Episode 19, One False Step. So, just to give you a bit of a summary, they go through the gate, and this is a very, again, tangential episode, not sort of following the overall arc of the season. They go through the gate to a planet where they discover people painted in bodysuits.
But remember, before they went through, they sent a UAV through and it malfunctioned. They were going through to recover it. Yeah, so
they were going. Well, they'd been through already actually. So they sent the UAV through to do further reconnaissance. No, they had. Yeah, so they'd already reconned the planet a little bit, come back, then sent UAV through to further recon.
I must have missed that wee bit.
But it basically crashes into one of the planets, damages the planet, and what they find out later on is that the planet was creating a certain sound that basically allowed that coexisted with a
symbiotic relationship.
That's it. That's the word I couldn't think. And so they end up basically replacing the sound with some big speakers and all as well. Bodysuits. Bodysuit episode glory.
But do you know, which I was surprised at in some respects, see the first guy they bumped into, the shorter one, he seemed initially to be the main one, but the one they took back to Stargate Command, it was another one. And then he seemed to be the priority of it, and then they come back. It was almost like it was a case of they were trying not to make any of them the only one they dealt with, but it just seemed to actually, it's almost like, right, we've got him, now we'll go to him and we'll completely ignore him, and it just, to me, it just seemed to be a case of, it's almost like we want to have it so you don't know what one will take, and they're all the same because they're all
well, there's no leader. There's no
leader or whatever.
Culture, basically.
I know, like, because they didn't talk and stuff like that, and there's no communication in that respect, so they didn't have one they would deal with. But it seemed to be that one guy all the time initially, and then they flicked to another guy, and it was just.
No, I'm just looking up, Nate, because I think the guy you're talking about, the shorter guy, I think he's quite well known. But I don't know his name, so I'm just looking him up on IMDb, because I'm sure he is a relatively well-known actor, or like a support actor.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's interesting. Just looking at IMDb, Holiday actually. Am I right? Yeah. Oh no, never mind. Sorry, just it was out of order there. One Small Step. Oh, it gets 6.9 stars on IMDb out of 10. 6.9 out of 10.
I think it's because it was humorous, but it was poignant as well. So it could have gone either way. So if you like the be careful with your planet, or these are primitive aliens, or they don't understand because of the silly things you do, it had all those different levels that you could have enjoyed it under different aspects of it. And I think that's why it probably got a decent one there, because you could like it in so many different levels.
So, interestingly, I think I found him. You want to know his name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's quite ironic given we were just talking about politics, but his name's David Cameron. I think if it's the guy, I think it is, yeah, David Cameron. But interestingly, he has had a bit of a. That's where I've seen him before. He was in X-Files. Yeah, he's been in the X-Files. He's actually done he's kind of done the rounds. He's done the Outer Limits, X-Files, a few other random ones. The Cornish.
I've not seen that.
Nah. I guess he's just a bit of a, supporting actor kind of thing, but yeah, I thought I'd seen before, but it actually seems like Stargate, that episode was the last thing he did in 1999. I don't think he's done anything else after that. Is he alive?
It would tell you under his bio if you click his name.
Not much about him actually. Cornish 1991, Stargate 1997. I guess done one or two bits, but not much about him. But yeah, I have seen him before, as I was saying. Yeah, I guess it was X-Files where I've seen him.
Yeah. It could be, but I thought he was really good at it, because he just had the impression from him and the way they were acting as they didn't understand it. They have no idea, and like he was going boo bird, and they were all going and all that, and it was just this.
Yeah. It was very nice. It was very innocent. It was very just like they were just buzzing about, enjoying life, and it all starts off so happily. It's hello, and then it sort of devolves quickly when they all start falling ill, and it's it's kind of, I guess, like the same. It's based on the old sort of Spanish traders when they went to the foreign islands in the original old days, and they brought all the illnesses across, and it went both ways. Like, what was it, scurvy as well? Although I don't think that was something they caught. I think that was more just the fact they weren't eating.
It was the scurvy was to do with the fact there's vitamin C deficiency.
That's what it was. Yeah, they weren't eating any lemons. Yeah, so I remember that vaguely from school.
Aye.
But yeah, so I guess it's that kind of idea of the unknown diseases that you're carting about the place, or you experience yourself.
Yeah.
No, great episode. For me personally,
I thought it was fun, and I think it was to do with the way the background actors, as in the village aliens,
they all sort of walk around like
the way they acted. It was silly. Like when they were actually arguing with each other, and they were trying to get them to smile, they were going up to them going, saying, as in, smile, bad noise, and all that stuff, and it was just a way of putting it across, and I thought it was quite good. I enjoyed the humour aspects of it as well.
No, I certainly did as well. The one bit I thought was a bit weird, I don't know if, it's more of a plot hole, but so one plant. I mean, like one plant on that entire planet gets damaged.
Yeah.
And they're all dead.
I didn't find that bad because they explained that.
No. I understand like the concept. It was all interconnected, but what happens when you have a storm?
That's assuming there's a storm on that planet.
True, very true. Yeah, okay, they might never have that. But I mean, like, yeah, what if an animal eats it, or I don't know, or one falls on it, or something like that? So the whole species wiped out, or I don't know. It just
there's obviously plot holes, but there was other aspect I was thinking was when they were there. He saw the plants come up and then disappear. Nobody else believed him because they hadn't seen it. Yet when they were hiding, all the plants came up.
Well, if it's a symbiotic relationship between the plants and the
I understand
people, maybe the people let them know when there's no one watching or something.
But the thing is that I understood that they had put those transmitters which would broadcast the right sound effects to negate all the bad sound effects, and that's why they all come up. But why did that one come up? That's what I was meaning. It's almost a case of...
Here's a question though, if plants are injured and they're making the bad noise, does broadcasting the good noise as well as the bad noise counter it?
Aye.
Or does it just mean they're both noises and all their heads should have exploded?
Well, or is it the fact is it's not so much that the bad noise was making them ill, it was the lack of the good noise because they changed the noise.
Yeah, that's
But then again, that's only in that one area. They said that people in different villages, well.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah. So everyone else on that planet is dead, but at least you saved one village for at least 20 years, so that's great.
until the batteries run it.
Well, solar powered, I noticed that. I guess they'll send people back and forward to check it and stuff, but...
wee guy with a squeegee. Clean.
There's no storms, remember?
That's true.
Never has storms, so...
but that's what I'm saying, it's just a case of... there is plot holes, but then again, I suppose they don't want you to think of minor inconveniences.
Yeah. You don't worry about those little bits.
And
as I say, I mean, even with all that, I still liked the episode. I mean,
I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. I thought it was humorous enough to...
I thought the bodysuits were... I have got to come back to them. I thought the bodysuits were just quite funny because you could see... I mean, as costumes go, it was so obvious they were wearing a body.
They were in a bodysuit with a zip in the back.
You could see the zip up the back. Come on, guys! At least put a bit of paint on that or something.
But because it was meant to... Their suits they were wearing was meant to be a paint that they put across that hardened.
Yeah, it became like a second skin, I think.
That's what they implied, that's what it was. But so why didn't they have the suit completely painted to make it look... But yes, I know what you mean. But I suppose in that respect, they didn't want them actually all hanging out all over the place.
Yeah, that was a PG-18 it right away.
Yeah, that would have actually gone back to season 1, episode 1.
Yeah.
So, but...
I'm just looking for a shot here where you can actually... I'm just looking for a scene here where you can actually see the bodysuits. Just so you know, I'm not talking like silly. It is really obvious, but I probably won't be able to find it now that I'm just clicking through to try and get it. Oh yeah, that's so obvious right there actually. I'll tell you what, I'll just full screen it and share it with you.
Right.
Once I figure out how to do that. Not like that. Right. There we go. Share screen.
Alright, go.
And there. So, can you see that on the screen now?
Yes.
Can you see my... Yeah, so, I mean, like, if you look around the collar, it's so obvious it's a bodysuit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can see the seam. I guess they did, well, I guess they did paint it, but why not just get, like, a really thick lather of paint and just put it right around there and cover that all up? And that would have made it look so much... It would have made it blend more. But there is, I can't find it at the moment. But there is actually
there is one where you see it more at the back of them.
Oh,
there,
right there. There you go. Let me just get the back there. Oh, I missed it.
You're going back a wee bit.
There we go. Perfect. Look at that. So you can, if you look, you can actually see the zip on the left, on the left of it. They're quite revealing, though. I must admit. Like,
yes.
There's not much left of the imagination in these bodysuits.
The packaging was actually
on display. The packaging's on display. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. But I guess they did paint up the zip. But I think just maybe they ran out of paint. They need to go back to B&Q or Walmart, I should say. Cause it's in actually, this is in Canada. It's still filmed in Canada, so I don't know what the Walmart equivalent in Canada is. Maybe it is Walmart. They need to go back there and get some more paint or filler and just finish off that back zip. Anyway, I'll finish. I'll stop sharing the nude people the bodysuits. Right, come off my screen. How do I get off my screen? I'm such an expert at this, as you can tell. There we go. Stop sharing. There we go.
There you go. We're back. So we've obviously tried that before, and we're actually trying to synchronise it so when it actually looks okay. So hopefully it doesn't look too bad. The amateur in this, but I'm sure there's better ways of doing that, so we can actually blend backwards and forwards.
There's a nice scene actually in this episode. I'm kind of across it because I just watched it earlier today, but there's a funny scene where obviously I don't remember, but Daniel and O'Neill lose their temper with each other and have they shout at each other.
And that's the bit where he comes up and goes,
Yeah. That's exactly the point. And then in the next scene, or the second next scene, I think it is, they're back in the medical centre and they've just had their workups. It's like to be seen, and I guess this is maybe the trope of like the two guys that can't say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I lost my temper." They're like, "Yeah, so that whole thing, yeah, yeah, oh no, yeah." They're all just sort of dancing about it, and then Daniel's like, "Oh, we must have been ill or physically hurt."
Yeah.
Or there must be something physically wrong with us, and then the doctor walks up behind and just puts on their files and things. It's like, I can't find anything physically wrong with you.
The reason we were angry was because we must have been ill. You're not ill.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, there must have been something wrong with us. No, nothing wrong with you.
Aye. But yes, it was basically taking that. I suppose they do it every so often. They take a trope and they stand it in its head. Like the very first episode when they introduced Carter. Oh, Sam, is that you implying it's listen? I'm not exactly. I've flown in an F-15. I've did this. I've done that. I've done this. Is that good enough for you? Type thing. Whereas they take the trope of the guy thinking it's that woman, and then they turn it on its head as in, yeah, maybe, but I've done more than you. And that's and that, I quite like the aspect that they don't fall into the trope holes, as it were.
No, absolutely. I mean, usually, most often, like I suppose for the classic shows, usually, I mean, certainly if you look at Doctor Who and stuff,
most of the companions there were there for two reasons: one, to get rescued, and two, to allow the Doctor to tell everybody out on the screen what was happening.
Yeah, precisely. And that usually, if you look at the older shows, that's kind of what the women were there for. I mean, which is why it's so nice to have. I mean, you've got Carter, who's the very opposite of that.
Aye, but they also remember the Patrick Troutons. He had Jamie. He also had Zoe. But when Zoe wasn't there, Jamie was the one that was getting into trouble and getting rescued. So they had the Scotsman who was the warrior, still getting into trouble and still getting rescued. So even at that time, they had the occasional tropes. They would go, flick it in their head, he's a companion, so he gets into trouble. But it's not a woman. So he's a companion, he gets into trouble, and they threw it in his head by making him the one that has to be rescued. And I like it when they take a trope and stand in its head. And yes, with Carter from day one, it's a case of big deal, I'm female. What are you going to do about it? What difference does that make?
It's interesting. I watched an interview with
Amanda Tapping.
I watched an interview with her, and she's obviously like, she's no fool, right? You know, I don't think she takes prisoners lightly. a very nice person, but I think she had a lot of influence on her character there. I don't think she was willing to I don't think she was willing to play that kind of part. And I think all the better for her, just purely from the show's point of view, it made it far more entertaining, much more interesting.
Oh, definitely. The fact that she wanted to play a strong character, she didn't want to play the typical, well, you're a scientist, okay, does that mean I walk about with a white thing and glasses on and I've no world experience outside my field? Or, no, I want to be a soldier, or an airman, I want to be this, I want to be that, and I want to be this.
Yeah, perfect.
And explain why you can't actually be that, because I'm female. So, females can do that just as well as men. But so. It's not as if I'm standing in the front line. You're talking about pilots.
She was flying in the front line.
Yes, but the fact is you're a pilot, so when it's in the air, when it's the Air Force, you're not talking about, apart from certain specialist units.
Are women allowed to serve in the Air Force as pilots?
Yes.
I don't know, actually.
As far as I'm aware, the American Air Force have got female pilots. If they're not, then there's a lot of TV programs. In combat, why not?
No, I agree. I don't have any reason why not.
No, but I'm saying I don't know why there would be a thing. I can understand what they're talking about when they're talking about frontline battle troops. It's not a case of they can't do the job. It's just it puts them into more risk if they get taken by violent insurgents or whatever. Because
there you go. So I was just googling it, and so in 1991, women were allowed to fly in combat.
And that was set in 94. So, yep.
And in 1998, US military women were flying combat missions from aircraft carriers. Oh, well, there you go. Cool.
So she was already. This was 94, 95?
94, 95. Yeah, so that would actually make perfect sense then.
Well, 94 was the actual movie. So this was 97, 98.
Alright, okay.
Aye.
That makes perfect sense then.
Well, you're on IMDb, look at the very first episode. And it was 97, I think.
I'll bow to your superior knowledge of that.
It's only because the movie was 94.
I think you're right though, it was 97, yeah, 1997.
Yeah,
so,
but the still fact is that's 6 years. But the fact is that in the Air Force, why wouldn't it be? Because it's not as if they've got one-to-one combat. Yes, there's specialist troops, and then there's the aspects like, for instance, Emancipation, which in season 1 I thought was the worst episode. Shows that she was capable of doing it anyway, but I didn't like Emancipation. That was the one about just to fact check myself. So in 2010, British Ministry of Defence study concluded that women performed the same as men. All positions in the military are open to women, although as yet no women have fulfilled the physical requirements of special operations. So I think basically what I was saying is that women. Sorry, that was Denmark actually. No, actually. I think they do fight. I think they are fighting on the front lines. Yeah, I thought the Americans wanted it was a case of they could serve in combat roles, but there's under certain restrictions because of. It's not that they could only be in combat roles if they're medics. I'm saying is they could serve in combat roles, but not on front line combat where they're going deep into.
Well, apparently, according to Wikipedia, in July 2016, all exclusions of women serving in ground close combat. So basically, what we were just saying, were lifted. So yeah. There you go. That's pretty cool.
Exactly, but I suppose with the Air Force up front, the fact that she was the pilot, she did this, she did that, and Amanda Tapping portrayed it as if you're sitting there thinking, I'm fucking scared there. Because she was, it would be the same as say you were sitting across with a guy saying the exact same thing. I'm fucking scared of him. It's the same idea. Just because she's female, it doesn't make her any less intimidating. And I think that when it came into, we were talking about the one false step weren't we?
Yeah. I was going to say we've gone very off topic.
But I think it was because we were talking about that and the aggravation between the two guys.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
that's what it was, and they were doing that. Whereas, yes, her and Teal'c didn't have that issue. Although Teal'c keeled over.
So that was interesting because he obviously dug into the plant at that point, and he got the goop on his finger. So I wonder what was it that caused it, because apparently it's the sound.
But I think the goop was just a red herring, because as he's dug into it, the sound, it's probably like somebody screaming in your ear. It's somebody screaming in your head, because if he's cut into it and it's alive and it's did it emit such a psychic sound that it's
high frequency. And yeah.
So that's the way I took that. It was, the goop was just a side effect. It'd be like saying, I stuck my knife in there, but blood came out and I heard this screaming.
Right. So it's the screaming. It's the screaming that's affecting it, but it's not. Okay,
that's the way I looked at it. It was because he dug in it and they said it was the sound. So has he affected the sound because of the cutting into it? That's the way I took it. Apart from that, he wasn't really affected, and Carter wasn't really affected. So everybody's got different chemistry. He's meant to be an alien, and he's got a symbiote. She's female. The two males, their aggression was triggered.
What was interesting, I mean, they were affected in different ways. So you see O'Neill, he actually falls down at one point because of the headaches. So I suppose in some ways he's actually affected more than Daniel, because Daniel's relatively calm. It's O'Neill that gets affected the most soonest.
Because I suppose because he's a soldier and he's got a more aggressive nature.
Maybe, yeah, possibly.
And he's controlling it a lot more because he is a soldier. He does learn to control his emotions, I suppose, in that respect. So he's constantly controlling it. It's affected him more. He's constantly trying to control it. It's giving him the headaches. Daniel, who's more of the bookworm, doesn't know how to control him, and then when it does start affecting him, the two of them are going at each other. But I thought that was quite a good episode, and there was a lot of good interplay between the characters. Yes, there was loopholes that no, we were fine. It must have been an illness. Somebody must have forced us to do that. No, these are fine, nothing's wrong with these. But I think it was a good episode all in all.
I agree. There was one other bit I was going to say, and I think it's they did some nice CG for it. It was when they were doing the. I don't know if CG is the right word for it, but they did some nice graphics where the plants. They do like no, they scan the guy and his heart's and the heart turns out to be down in the stomach. It's when they do the CAT scan of the guy and it's like. And
it's the sound, and they go to do an ultrasound.
Yeah. I just thought the graphics on the heartbeat was actually on the heart beating in the ultra.
Do you know? I know it sounds silly, but do you know what it reminded me of? Red Dwarf. The bit in Red Dwarf 10, whereas they go back to the red. It was called Back to the Red, and it's basically when they go back and the Red Dwarf is back again, and the Captain Hollister and all that's there. And they're scanning him, and basically he says you need to listen to his heart, and it's playing a beat. I don't know why it reminded me of that. I think it was just for the simple fact that it was a different heartbeat, but it was just reminding me of the Cat's beat where you can see Mac McDonald giving it that when he's listening to it. Get that in a tape, please. And it was just, I quite enjoyed that. I thought it was just, that's the only part that reminded me. It was just a wee quick flash up. That reminds me of Red Dwarf. And I think it was because of that aspect of it. The heartbeat was slightly different, and it was more of a sound vibration sensor, I suppose. But yeah.
That was the only other bit I was going to say. I thought that so good episode.
Good episode all in all. And the next one was it was an okay episode to me.
Show and Tell, yeah.
Show and Tell.
So we're on episode
19.
19, sorry. Episode 19,
this is the one where everything goes haywire, and they've got an incoming traveller, but they can't put down the shield. And it keeps opening and closing, and basically a young boy steps through and tells them that they're in danger.
So it's the. I'm trying to remember the name of these creatures. It's the Tolan or
no. The Teal'c. It's not. It's the Ritu.
The Ritu. That's
the
it.
Ritu.
And they're invisible. Yeah.
They're invisible and stuff like that. Do you know the worst part of it is? They mention the Ritu. Never mention them again, even though they're invisible, and if they had them as allies, they're never mentioned again. Completely forgotten. I thought they were going to line them up to be season 3's bad guys.
Do they not use them as because the guns come back at some point because they've got the invisible searching guns.
Aye, but I think that is they used those guns when it was Apophis' foot soldiers.
Ah, right, okay.
I think that's when they come back. But I can't remember.
I wonder if part of the reason, as much as it was, a storytelling reason, was CG costs. Because those creatures were, when you catch a glimpse of it, they're quite CG intense.
Yes.
Like, they're all over the place, and you only really ever get glances of them. So from a editorial point of view, or a image editing point of view, it would be very easier to just do a couple of quick scenes like that.
Yeah.
Whereas you imagine, like, from a storytelling point of view, it would become boring if you couldn't see them all the time. So presumably, some sort of MacGuffin would have to get invented that shows them all, right? And then suddenly, you've got CG annotate all the scenes. And I was actually speaking to my brother about this earlier in the week. Apparently, the reason that the final episode was more of a clip show is because they started to run out of money towards the end of the season. That's why they had to do some more clips.
See, that's why I thought that's why they initially did the holiday one to cut down the cost, because they were wanting to do it for the final episode with all the different scenes, and then they had to sort of do a clip show part as well, so they could sort of pad it out. Because
so if we extrapolate from that and say, well, they're running out of money at the end of this season, do we really think they're going to have enough money to do a whole bunch of CGI in season 3?
But that's what I thought initially. They probably set them up that they could use them. Maybe it was something they had to keep an eye out for. Whereas after that, they don't really mention at all. Yeah. Even the scanner that's put in place to check to see if they come through the gate, nothing. They completely disappear.
That's so common for like a lot of the creatures you meet in season 1 and 2. So many of them you never see again. I mean, like barring the Nox, which get one more appearance. What was the name? Maybe it was the Tolan. What was the name of that race? With the guy from Sonnet, the one we talked about, the guys that can walk through walls and then they end up going.
They are the Tolan. They are the Tolan.
Yeah, the Tolan. Sorry. Never really meet them again.
You do. You do meet them again. Later on, it's I think it's season 5 when they set up. I'm sure it's the Tolan when they set up a new civilization. And there is a couple of. I'll remind you when it happens, but it's basically I think they do meet the Tolan on and off, and I think the Tolan were even there at the very last episode when they're getting rid of Baal.
Is that right? Oh,
I think the Tolan were part of it.
My Stargate knowledge is...
No, but I think they were here and there, but they're not a mainstay, as it were, like, for instance, the Asgard or whatever, because they come in more and more. But I think the Tolan, every so often, they were here and there. They did bring them in.
So obviously that's a terrible example on my behalf.
No, but the thing is, like things like the Ritu or the gardener from...
Dennis Schwartz. Dennis Schwartz?
No, Dennis. It's Dwight Schwartz. Dwight
Schwartz. Yeah, it's Dwight something like that. Yeah, but you never
basically howling mad Murdoch from the A-Team.
Yes, I remember Murdoch is the easy way to say it. But as I say, like why didn't he just come to Earth and set up the next video games?
Or even actually say, I will give you this technology and help you work it. If you give me people to do my gardening, what do you mean you've got people who love gardening and would love to take care of my garden? Bring them all over and I'll give you this technology. How many people would you know who love gardening would actually say, there's a whole world over there, all you need to do is gardening and the rest of it we'll give you to live on? How many people love gardening like their plots or whatever, their back gardens, just to keep it nice.
I think that'd be interesting. Is like I don't know if you've ever heard of it's a British, well, you might not have heard of it because it's a British politics expression, but gardening leave. So it's a term in politics. Like if you become,
it's not just politics. We've had an employee who had gardening leave. In effect,
right, so
they didn't want him. There was no need for him to continue. Didn't want him to start his new job, so they give him gardening leave.
They can't fire him, or they don't want to fire him.
They don't want to fire him because he's got 3 months to continue, but they don't want him to go on to his next job and take all the knowledge that he's got just now. So they give him 3 months gardening leave. Yeah.
Gardening leave. So it'd be funny to think that you'd hire a whole bunch of people into the US Air Force and immediately put them on gardening leave to this planet. So what did you do for the last year? I was on gardening leave. Right, okay, well the door's just over here if you just want to make
But you think
seriously, I was looking after the planet.
But it's what I'm saying. I suppose it'd be like getting someone who goes over to build stuff in South Africa and stuff like that. As part of the aid packages. What do you do? Well, I went over and built houses. So, well, that's what I did. Went over, and it's that aspect of it. So all they're doing is they're not necessarily employed by the RAF. It's just a case of they are gardeners who are employed because they
hired by USAF.
Contractors.
Yes,
I'm sure it's not RAF personnel that are actually watering all the plants anymore.
I'm quite sure it's not RAF personnel as well. I'm sure it'd be United States Air Force.
USAF. Yes, shut up, you. You know what I mean.
Oh, come on, you can't even whinge at that. The number of jokes you get at me is
I know.
untold.
I know, but
that's one. I've got one.
Aye, basically, I suppose it just goes to show we're in the UK, people. That's why we, instead of the United States Air Force, USAF, we call it the RAF, the Royal Air Force.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to translate. They wouldn't have a clue what RAF stands for. So. Anyway, shall we talk about this episode? I thought, right from the start, when the episode started, I'd forgotten what the episode was about.
It's about the aliens ones.
Yeah, the boy walks through. And I actually genuinely thought that the camera was going to pan to a onesie. I thought the guy was just going to be wearing a onesie.
An Ewok.
Yeah, or something like that. I mean, shall I just quickly show you that little scene, and then you can actually see what I'm talking about?
Oh, I know exactly, but yes, to me it looked like an Ewok.
Right, so hopefully you can just see the feet that have appeared.
Yep.
So what I'll do is I'll just play the wee clip because we're talking about it for artistic purposes anyway. But so basically, pans in and then so from my point of view, I've not seen this episode for ages. I've forgotten it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that's a onesie. What's happening here, right? Is this going to be a bear suit or something?
I must admit, I thought Ewok at the time when I saw it.
And then it's pans. I was like, still a onesie. I'm pretty sure it's still a onesie. And you're going to have, oh no, it changes.
See, it's at that point I thought Ewok.
But it could be, because like, I think that's just a onesie. I think that's like a set of pajamas or something from back then. And they've just stuck a hood on that. Like, you've got the slippers. In fact, maybe not a onesie, because they didn't really exist back then. Maybe it's more like a mascot. You know what I mean? Like a mascot suit.
Yes.
I bet you that's what it was. I bet you that was a mascot suit, and that's like a bear suit or something that he's wearing. And all they've done is they've taken a set of robes.
And the hoodie part over it.
So basically, they've taken the onesie suit and basically stick a hood on it. That's a cool hood, actually. I really like that hood. It looks really awesome. But, you know. So, you see that bit. And then obviously it turns out to be this boy who's come through. And he's been genetically engineered, grown, produced, created, whatever. So that he can communicate both with the mother
Ritu
and with the human people.
Yeah.
Here's the bit I don't get. The Ritu obviously know about this technology. It can make them visible.
Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't it be easier just to use that to communicate rather than go to the effort of genetically creating a complete child?
No, but remember, it's not a case of they're just invisible. They are slightly out of phase.
Well, they're phase shifted by 180 degrees according to
something like that. But it's the fact is, so how could they communicate? Even if they could build the technology, they would literally have to try and build the technology. It's already there. They're aware of it, but that's like turning around saying, "I'm aware of I'm aware of a camera. Could I build one?"
But
I know you could. The only reason said me because I know being an engineer, you're probably more likely to be able to build a camera rather than me.
But at the end of the day, like they've got the technology to literally genetically print a human being with modified brains and all that kind of stuff. It makes it telepathic. So would it really be on? Because they can actually speak the language, or at least they're able to communicate because they can program the child to do it.
Yeah.
So how difficult would it have been to just say, make a device that makes them invisible and then hold up a sign that says, "Hi, we're friendly." Blah 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 blah.
Aye. But I suppose if they come across someone who has met the Teal'c and they've mentioned about the retooling and suddenly they start opening up.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think I suppose they should hire me really in the Stargate universe because I would solve all the problems.
Aye.
I'd just plug all the plot holes straight away.
Whereas I would highlight them all.
Yeah.
But it is that aspect. I thought the idea was good. I thought they were setting up the G2 to be the next bad guys, or at least another bad guy group who rather, because they sort of made the big issue and this whole episode was all about it, and then they disappeared and that was the last you see them again. They don't even get mentioned.
Yeah, no, it's very unusual, and I guess if you take the Ritu out of it for a second, imagine they're not there. The whole episode, I guess, is an emotional one because what it's doing is it's setting up the boy Charlie as effectively a pseudo son for O'Neill, or that's obviously what he's projecting onto the boy, and it's taking you through the story of Jack, I guess, sort of connecting with his son. And
again,
and
because they did that previously, remember?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, so again, a bit of a repeat on that. I mean, it's good episode. Didn't go anywhere.
I thought it was a circular one, and it only happened in that one episode. Never mentioned again out with either side. And so it was a filler episode.
Yeah.
It could have been done at any point after the Teal'c appear to the very end, because nothing else happened out with.
Yeah. Wouldn't have made too much difference. I think, given that it was approaching the end of the season, I would have put this earlier. If I'm honest, I think this could have been brought a bit further back.
It could have been. They couldn't go any earlier than the Teal'c one.
No, but I guess. Because the seasons, well, actually, you know what?
Because the Teal'c was the ones that brought the weapon, because they had heard of them, and they had the weapon, so it couldn't have been any earlier than that.
No, I completely understand. I guess what I was trying to get at is that you're kind of wanting to, because it's approaching the end of the season, you're kind of wanting to build up to the season finale.
Yeah.
And having an episode that's just so disjointed from that build-up, it just... In fact, when you think about it...
I think the last three episodes were disjointed from the
final. That's exactly what I was going to say. The last 3 episodes of season 2 are pretty rubbish, actually, because they don't build up. They just sort of have... You have this episode...
They're filler episodes.
They're filler episodes, yeah. And you've got the next episode, which, spoiler, I think is terrible. And then you've got the final episode, which, spoiler, I think is terrible. So, I think you could have taken those 3 episodes, shoved them anywhere else in the season, obviously after the Teal'c. At least for this episode after the Teal'c, you could put those other 2 episodes almost anywhere else.
Yes.
Taken almost any other of the 2 episodes, shoved them at the end. Especially, I think, replace the season finale with when Jack finally meets the Asgard.
The fifth race.
At that point, if you want a cliffhanger, all you do is you finish the episode with O'Neill in a really physically poor state. He's about to die. He steps through the Stargate, fade to black, boom, there's your cliffhanger. Is O'Neill going to survive? Yep. Of course he is, but, it leaves the question.
I think that would have probably been a better cliffhanger because you see him degrading, his mind going, and he can't even communicate, and he built the device that allowed him to get through. Even if he disappeared through it half an hour or 15 minutes before the end, It could have been about them trying to actually reproduce it and realising they can't, and discussing what's happening now because they may lock out his, because he's not got a signaller. So how did he get back? Because he can't get back because he doesn't have a transmitting device.
There's so many ways they could, even just all they would have had to have literally done is reorder the episodes slightly, and I still think you would have had a far superior cliffhanger. These episodes, I think, as standalone episodes are okay. The 1969 one, when you go back in time, the next episode we'll talk about, it's all right. I mean, I don't like it personally, but we'll discuss that in a second. But the season finale I think was garbage. If I'm brutally honest, I'm just curious actually.
You know my thoughts. The main protagonist.
I know you don't like her very much.
I don't like the Hathor character. I've never did like the Hathor, even from the very first time she appeared in it.
I suppose from a writing point of view, it's kind of cool to bring back. I mean, opinion of the character aside, you're bringing back an old character to the season finale of season 2, so it's like, I remember her. She was in this, and all that.
I think it's just the way they used the Hathor character, because she was, I suppose, very un-ghoul-like. So they set the ghouls up this particular way. You only ever really see Apophis, and then they bring the other one in, which is Hathor, and then you're sitting there thinking, really? Then they bring other ones in, and then you can actually see how Apophis is very like them, just the different sides of the same coin. Whereas she just seemed to be, there's all the coins, but she's a note over there in the corner. She might be the similar currency, but she's not the same type of coin.
Well, here's some evidence to kind of shoot down my theory entirely. Right, so we said that episode One False Step was really good, right? So I'm just looking at the reviews on IMDb. It's actually the worst rated episode in season 2.
But that's what I'm saying. If you're looking at for entertainment, switch the brain off. Because you look at the Marcello one, the Holiday. I bet that's
it's rated better than One False Step.
Well, I guess but I would still say it's no one of the higher ones up there on that list.
No, incidentally, so this is where our theories are kind of, I don't know. So my thinking was that a better way to finish the season would have been to have the 5th race. That's the episode brought as the season finale. That's actually rated as, I think, the highest with 9.3 out of 10. So that's actually rated the highest out of the season.
Yeah, and I think Teal'c's probably one below that.
I think you're right. 8.1 and 8.4 out of 10 for those 2 episodes respectively. But so here's my thing, right? So the episode that I hate, the 1969 one, actually gets 8.8 out of 10.
See, I enjoyed it, but there has bits in it I thought were lacking. Yeah, but same idea as the 3 previous ones. They were ones that could be put in any place.
Anywhere, yeah.
And that's the thing, you could watch them out of sequence, and at Disney you don't need to know what happened before or what happens after, because they're standalone ones. That's why sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Like the One False Step and things like that, I find them interesting because when I'm busy I could watch them, no hassle. Whereas other ones you need to concentrate on.
And interestingly, one Out of Mind, which is the season finale, it actually gets 7.4 out of 10. So it's higher rated than the One False Step. One False Step is actually the worst rated in the season, I think.
Which is, I can understand why to an extent, because as a Stargate one it's mediocre, but as you could watch that, don't understand about Stargate at all, and it wouldn't actually throw you. You don't need to understand the whole Stargate season to watch it. So as a bog standard sci-fi bit of fluff, it works, but as within the story of Stargate, yes, it doesn't really fit.
I guess what we're encountering here is that thing called personal opinion.
Well, I'm saying nothing about my personal opinion.
That's all this is really. It's just two idiots rambling about their personal opinions on the show. So yeah, I guess take it as that. But so just getting back to Show and tell.
Show and tell.
You know, nothing against it. We obviously discussed what the idea is. Disappointing that they didn't develop the alien threat a bit more and take it somewhere.
And the thing is, they were saying that they were destroyed. What was it?
By the Ghoul, because
the boy was sent by his mother to warn them that a race unknown to them is out to destroy any being that could be used as a Ghoul host. So which to me was ridiculous, because how many planets have they come across with humanoids on it? So in effect they're turning around and saying every other.
Yeah, that's exactly what it says. In fact, he says, I think the word he uses is attrition. So he says they're going to have a war of attrition. So their goal is to kill everything that could potentially be a host, which I think is actually the same. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's actually one of the same plot lines from Atlantis, where it's like the idea is to beat the Wraith. One of the ideas is to kill all the potential food sources. I can't remember what episode that is, or what the story is, but it's the same idea.
Aye.
Bring it back.
I think that was that the replicators that came up with that idea. Because remember, the Atlanteans built the replicators to fight the war against the Wraith.
When you say that, I had replicators in my head, but I couldn't remember what the connection was, so I didn't say it. But when you mentioned that, that sounds.
I think that's what it was, and that's why the Atlanteans destroyed the replicators before, and they didn't completely destroy them. And that's why they built back up, but that's why initially they destroyed them, because their goal was, well, the way to beat them would be destroying all the food source.
Yeah, which makes sense.
That I thought was just a wee bit ridiculous, just for the simple fact is, yes, well, what did they do? Because they could destroy a lot of the planet, because they said they'd set off and it would do damage. It's not going to kill the whole planet. So what they're going to do, the 5 of them are going to stay on the planet and go around shooting people one at a time. Billions of people. How often?
Yeah. And that's the other thing as well. It's like, okay, so you want to wipe out all possible hosts. Well, do you think the Gould are just going to stand by and let you wipe out all their hosts? Of course not. And the very point is that race got pushed to, I think, the brink of extinction by the Gould. So clearly the Gould are capable of beating them already. So, like,
and it was the Gould's technology.
It
was the Gould technology that the Teal'c stole.
Yeah. So they've kind of already been beaten. Like, so their plan was a bit naff, to be honest. I think.
It's like shutting the gate after the horse is bolted.
Yeah, and I suppose at the end of the day, though, I mean, they might have. How many people do you know that have a very strong political idea are stupid?
Oh God, aye.
So they have a very strong political idea of wiping out everyone.
It's the same old IT technology. Every time you meet an idiot-proof guide, the world throws up a bigger and better idiot.
Absolutely.
Aye.
That's so true.
But it is the same. I thought it was just that, to me, why didn't they just go to a planet and bury the Stargate? Because anybody scanning the planet from Earth, they wouldn't have known they were there.
No, you're absolutely right. But one thing that makes the episode automatically a 10 out of 10, your favourite actors there. Oh.
Are you talking about the 1969, or are you talking about the show and tell?
Show and tell.
Sam Carter's father.
Yeah.
I mean, Jacob.
Obviously that. Jacob Carter.
Jacob Carter. I'm trying to remember. It's what's his name? It's
Cameron
it's a Spanish name.
Carmen Argenzo.
Argenzo, aye.
Carmen Argenzo. I mean, he brings up the episode like 10 out of 10 straight away, so I can understand why it's a high rated episode.
Aye, but it's just I suppose it's the same as when Braytak turns up in it, and they're just high thingy because the actors are very good.
I don't know what it's about. I've not really seen him in anything. I don't know why it is I like him in Stargate so much, or why I even like him as an actor. I just think the way he plays his character, the demeanour, like everything about it, the way he plays it, it resonates with me for some reason. And I'm just, I really like him as an actor. So when I see it there, and like I'm hitting the plus button straight away. I'm like,
it's the same as when Apophis is in it. At Peter Williams, I think he's just such a good actor, especially after the one where He died.
Episode.
Aye, the one he died and he was basically given in and he became his host as well. That aspect of it, he sees arrogance, she sees weakness, she sees scared because he was the host, and it shows his whole range. I think very good.
Yeah, I watched that episode again actually after we did our chat, and I've got to say, yeah, I know what you mean about the range, and it really gave the episode a depth that you just don't see in many Stargate episodes. Put it that way.
Yeah.
And the way he plays, because the way he plays it is that up to that point he's the bad guy, right? And he's obviously set up to be hated, right? That's what bad guys are for, right? Which is why it's surprising you like the episode, because this is where the line becomes very grey, because he flips it and it's like suddenly he's just this innocent guy that has been a victim for like thousands of years.
Yes, but the thing is, that aspect of it you have known about. The bit with Thor's hammer, she was a Gould host. She's no longer now, so you know it's two different people. The Gould take over.
Yeah.
And that aspect of it, so it's like
it'd
be like somebody holding a gun to your kid's head and saying, right, go and rob a bank. So is the person that goes to rob the bank the bad one?
No,
he's done bad things, but not necessarily because he's got any choice. It's that aspect of it, I think.
That's why that in itself is quite complex. That from an ethical point of view, it's quite a complicated question, I think, because is the person robbing the bank to save his son good or bad? Well, I guess that depends on your point of view. I guess it depends on who's been affected by the point of view and perspective, which in itself is a complicated and messy issue, which is why it's interesting when you suddenly are presented with the host of Apophis, who is just this innocent person who's suffered all these years, and then he just wants to die. He literally just wants to die. But then, as you later find out later on in the subsequent seasons, he's been brought back and tortured further. So that's another ethical question, because what you've just done is you've given an innocent person to an enemy, knowing that they're going to torture him continuously and over and repeatedly again. Unless you could argue they thought he was dead already and he wouldn't be brought back. But I think no, because the Teal'c says he'll be brought back and tortured again and again.
But there must be a way, like they could have injected something into the dead man's body.
They could have made sure he was dead.
Even inject something so he couldn't get resurrected.
Yeah, or film with a bomb or something.
No, but even just the bog standard, inject him with a chemical that completely destroys the brainstem or something.
Just destroy the Gould. Like just Gould.
That's what I'm saying. Inject with something so the body can't be resurrected.
Yeah.
But
because what you've effectively done is you've knowingly given that innocent person up to be tortured again, potentially for hundreds, thousands of years. You don't know, because that's how long they can live, right?
Yeah.
So that was a very morally ambiguous episode.
It was,
but a good one for that reason, I think.
Yes, I definitely think so. Right. Let's jump on to the one you dislike the most. 1969. Where a solar flare sends them back in time.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what did you like about the episode?
I think it was because it's the same idea. It was just a silly one. It was what would happen if. There was a lot about it I didn't like. Not saying everything about it I liked. There was a lot about it I didn't like, but I think it was just one of those ones. I suppose I like the time travel ones. What would you... Looking at certain things, how would you view it when you know what's going to come? Like, you go back in time and actually sit and listen to your mum and dad at a party talking crap about somebody who you know they're going to ask to be their best man bridesmaid, and you're sitting there thinking, no, don't say that, because it's that aspect of it. It's you're going back into the past that everybody glorifies as being the greatest time in the world, and then they're playing with it and actually showing you, well, there's somebody who's going to fight a war and was scared. There's this aspect that, you know what I mean, there's a bit of a war about to go where thousands of people are going to die, millions, depending if the communist numbers ever came out. But you know what I mean? It's a case of these things are about to happen. Everybody says it's Summer of Love and it was great and all that, but they hide all the aspects of it. That the Summer of Love happened because people were protesting against the war and stuff like that. But then you had one person who was a hippie, but he was actually getting called up and he was scared, and that's why he was wanting to leave.
Yeah.
And they couldn't tell him, and they couldn't say do this or don't do that, or because they had to let him make his mind up. But it's just as easy for them to turn around and say, listen, it'll be over in a few years, but if you go to Canada, you'll never be able to come back. They'll never forgive you. Or don't go to Canada because you'll probably survive anyway. They wouldn't know. So it's no like, for instance, it was General Hammond was the hippie they bumped into.
that would be something.
And then they're telling him he should join the army and join it and go on to it, and he basically, and they talk him into joining the army so he's there to help him when he goes back. That's the type of thing, whereas, you know, he's going to join the army anyway, so he's in the army, so it's already a future for him, and he's saying, I don't want to join the army, I don't want to join. You know fine well, if he joins the army, he's going to survive because he's already there in the future. Whereas this person, never met before, you don't know if he's going to survive.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, I mean, that's I get why you like it. No, I genuinely do. Shall I tell you why I don't like it?
Yes.
So,
start at the top and work our way down.
Yeah, start at the top, work our way down. Let's start with what I did like then. I liked the hippie scenes. Like I liked the hippie bus. I thought it was pretty cool.
See, I think things like that. That's what I'm saying.
I thought it was funny. I enjoyed that aspect of it. Like, from a purely just sort of like, oh, that's quite funny aspect, I enjoyed that. I liked that, and I can understand why the episode gets a high rating. Why I didn't like it is a purely personal reason. Again, it's going to sound stupid when I say it in the context of like science fiction, but what I've never liked about these kind of episodes is that for me it kind of breaks the rules that have been set by the universe, or like the expectation by the show. And what I'm trying to say by that is, like, imagine you're in their position, you go back in time, like, you'd be done. Like, what could you possibly do? Like, there'd be no way you could come back. And I think that's the feeling I don't like having when I'm watching it, because I watch it, and when they go back in time, in my head I'm thinking, God, they're done. Like, that's it. There's no way. There's no way they're coming back from this. Yet through what I can only describe as a bunch of MacGuffins, they somehow come up with this way of managing to get to the gate. I think they've got the time and the exact date and time when the solar flare is going to hit, so they know that, so they can gate at the right time and come back. The second thing I don't like about it is that they come back and General Hammond's known all along. I mean, like, how? For me, that's where it breaks the whole expectation, because you couldn't know that. I don't think you could know all of that stuff is true and lead your life without letting it impact you. Like, how could you ever be in a situation where you think, well, I wonder if they're going to die? Because you know they can't. It's impossible. Like when you watch season 1
with a bug. You knew he was going to Teal'c with the bug.
Or
you knew he was going to survive.
When Daniel Jackson goes missing in the original season with that water preacher guy, well, Hammond must have known he's going to be okay, because he's not experienced that point in history where he's gone back in time. You know, like he's not had that time where they've gone missing, or where they've gone missing through the gate and all that kind of stuff, and then come back dressed as. So, if he knows that, he should never be worried.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he knows it's not going to happen. I will admit, that's making a presumption on my behalf that Hammond would have the wherewithal and understanding to know that. Because from his point of view, I guess he's met them before. But even then, like, would you not think, hang on, I've met you before. Where have I? Oh yeah, I met you before because you travelled back in time. And surely that's something that would come up in conversation at some point. Or even just, I don't know. So
the first time he had he saw Teal'c with the the Zat Nicotale.
Yeah.
Because he'd seen it being used on the 3 crates, which to me was stupid. The Zat Nicotale, 1 shot stuns, 2 shot kills, 3 shot disintegrates.
Yeah.
What's that got to do with an inanimate object? Because the first shot doesn't kill, they stun it. The second shot doesn't kill it.
I'm guessing what's happened there is it fried the circuitry. So obviously, you've got all the control circuitry for the rocketry.
No, that part, yes, that's just it. But the 3 crates, remember in the back of the truck? He fired the Zat Nicotale, so the electricity that causes it to be stunned, it shorts it out. No problem with that one. But when they're captured and they're getting shipped out, and he basically lets them loose because they found it, and they zap the guards and they zap him. He stuns and watches. He says, "Is this everything?" And he uses his zap on the boxes 3 times.
You know what you should have done is you should have buried them, and in the final scene they come back and dig them up, and they're all old. That would have been good.
But that's to me the fact that they used the Zat to get rid of that stuff. Why?
That was weird. But I guess what bothers me about the episode the most isn't that it's science fiction and it's all all that. That's fine. Like, I don't care. Time travel, that's fine. Don't care. I like Doctor Who, right? So if I've got a problem with time travel, I can't like Doctor Who. Yeah. What I don't like about it is that it invalidates all the other episodes.
Look at my room.
Exactly, yeah. That's the problem I have with the episode is that it basically looks at it. It gives a problem to all the other episodes up to that point, because how does it not have an impact on everything else that's come before it? Why not at least just have? I guess this is where you have to have the foresight to know you're going to run the episode like this. But why not just have 1 or 2 episodes, maybe at the start of season 1, where Hammond just makes an off-the-cuff reference? It's like,
see, that
I've
would
not
have
seen him dressed like that since the 60s. Something like that, or it's like,
that takes me back. It's the same as like they did with the Broker Divide. This thing's been transmitting since Neanderthals ruled the world. Because that takes me back. It's just it could be but yes, or like he says, I didn't realise it until I saw you cutting your hand. Then why did they let him take the Zat Nicotale and all that? Why didn't he say, listen, want you to go a wee bit downplay, just go like that, so you've got none of these weapons, because you never had them when because none of these weapons fell into our hands. We just found these 4 people.
And here's the other thing as well. It's like, if you're in the Air Force, right? You're just a soldier, right? So you're posted on some position. You're told to transport 4 prisoners who you've been told, from your perspective, are Russian spies.
Yeah.
That's what you know, right? They start telling you all this information about you and who you are and your wife and blah, 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 to try and convince you that they're from the future. What are you more likely to believe? A, they're Russian spies who have information on you and your family, which would make sense because you're an officer in a military force. Or B, that these guys travel back in time and somehow have this super technology.
There's 2 ways round that. The one that it was something that, how would the Russians know about his father?
Spies.
No, but
that's what Russians did during
I could find out that so-and-so's father died in this place and he maybe watched it with this and he did this. But how would you know the conversation? Because you would need to be watching them for a long time prior to that. Do you see what I mean? Finding the information out is fair enough, but it's the conversation part of it. It was the fact it was a conversation that he's never mentioned.
Obviously, the Doctor was a spy. Solves it all, mate. That's explained it.
That's it, but there's also the aspect of it, they've got the Zat Nicotale, so something they would never have seen before. So
would that convince you? Like, so honestly, let's say someone walks into your room right now and they have a piece of technology you've never seen before, and they tell you they're a time traveller. Would you legitimately believe that?
Well, it depends on how. I suppose it would depend on other things. Like if somebody came in and says, "Hold on, I've got this," puts her teleporter down and teleports me into my back garden, and I go, aye, I believe you.
Well, that's
you see what I mean?
Fair enough.
Right, you see what I mean? It's the technology, because as that Nicotel was basically a sci-fi ray gun, because that's what they kept calling it, a ray gun.
Yeah,
but
sure.
it was just it fired an electric shock.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a taser, but even you take a taser back 40 years. It's using electrics. It's using electrics that it was around, but you've got such a small battery. It's got such a large charge. Even somebody, you take it to an engineer and say, "There you go," and they'll go, "And did you get that in there? All that charge in that small?" Because you look at some of the batteries at the time.
Oh yeah, true, granted.
But also the fact is, with the engines they used to charge up, I thought that was stupid.
Yeah. The sci-fi elements, as I say, I can get behind. Don't have a problem with that. The fact that it can't, the problem is it pulls at the rest of the story in all the other episodes. There's no way it shouldn't have affected those in some way.
The Hammond ones, yes, anything with Hammond at that point. But the one thing I thought was, well, they wouldn't know anything about the solar flares. So yes, that aspect of it, because they couldn't use it as a time travel device, because they wouldn't have known until after it's happened. That's like turning around and saying, I won the lottery, but I only put the ticket on 10 minutes after I saw the results.
But isn't that what Hammond actually gives them the?
But that's from the past. But that's from the past. He got them to research when it happened in the past.
Oh, right.
So they knew exactly when it happened. So it wasn't 8 minutes after. What they did was, the first one, they checked the sun. They knew when it was meant to be happening, and they knew it takes roughly 8 minutes. So 8 minutes, right? It should be we should be able to see it now. Yet we can see it 8 minutes after it happened, exactly when we're expecting to see it. So the next time it happens at this point, so we need to make sure we do it 8 minutes. Or we need to do it on this time. Because the time he gave them, they went up, and 8 minutes later, they were checking to see if it actually happened 8 minutes ago.
Okay, so here's the next question then. No, I agree with that as well. I'd forgotten about this part, but why did they suddenly materialise in the middle of a rocket? Like blast zone. Like, so they step through the gate. What happens is they step through the gate, and then the gate all just disappears, and suddenly they've
But that is the room where the gate would have been.
That's meant to be in Cheyenne Mountain?
Yes, that's what Cheyenne Mountain was prior to it. Because remember, there's a part where
they've got the shaft that goes all the way up. So I get that, but why does the gate disappear after they step through? Why
because that's what she says. They were in two places at the same time, and then that one winked out. So they were in both places.
Why does that wink out and not them?
Because I don't know, but she basically explained it as there was the two timelines crossed over, and their timeline dominated itself. So when they're in that timeline, they stepped through. They stepped into another timeline. The two of them were there for a split second, and then it flipped back to where they were. I suppose it's as they say in Doctor Who, timey-wimey bullshit.
Yeah. No. So yeah, I guess. So for me anyway, concluding remarks on that episode. Just too many MacGuffins. Don't get me wrong, a good MacGuffin, no problem with that. Too many MacGuffins, it's just like, come on guys, do a bit better writing on that or something.
I enjoyed aspects of it. I did enjoy it overall, but there was things like when the guards were shooting, and they're finding that Nicotel hitting the fence and across. What happens if they accidentally fired up twice and they got him thingy, so they would have killed him? Because they were firing, they were going like that as they were running, so they're not taking any aim. They're just hoping to actually scare him, but they could have hit him twice.
That's very true. Yeah, that's very, very true.
And see, so the fact is, we can't kill anybody, we can't do this, we can't. People have to make it, but they're still doing that. And where are the reports of these 4 people making that thing come alive and then jump through it, and they were firing ray guns at us?
That's a good point. Unless Hammond, when he got into command at SG1, had them all classified or destroyed.
Yeah.
Just on the off chance to make sure that no one else could come across them.
Do you see what I mean?
You know what I mean? Yeah.
There was good aspects to it. I liked it because of the fun aspects of it, but there was enough holes that you could go pick that I could understand why people didn't like it.
Well, that's according to IMDb though, people loved it.
Aye, and I think it's because of the fun aspects of it. I think a lot of the ones when you've got a time travel episode that they don't take seriously and it's just there for the fun episode, then they can actually get behind it because it's just meant to be for fun to see the good old days.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And see a young Hammond and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, no, that's fair.
So, but there was enough. The MacGuffins, there was a wee bit too much, and having to get through in such a short time. On the marks, get set, tick, 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 tick. It's not as if we've got a year to get back, so we have to work into it and all that. Suddenly. It's just too quick. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but I could understand why it's not the most popular, but I do understand why it is seen fondly, because it'd be like watching something in the UK set in the 60s, 70s. When you grow up, you remember you got more fond stuff.
Or just go visit Paisley for a day and you'll get that experience.
I'm not saying anything. I went to uni in Paisley.
So yeah, just go visit Paisley for a day and you'll get that experience.
Yeah, but it is that aspect of it. It's just a case of I remember when it's the good old days and you see how people lived there, look at the hippies and all that type of thing. I think that's why it's a funny episode, because it's not meant to be taken as seriously. It's just another filler, I suppose. Yeah, absolutely, and fair play to it. As I say, I can understand why it's a good episode, but for me personally, it's right, so let's move on to the final. The final episode, people, ladies and gentlemen, the final. We finally got to it.
I mean, we're only like 4 weeks late on it, the review, but yeah, we season 2, 22, episode 22, Out of Mind. I'll say straight from the start, I'm biased, and I thought the episode was terrible.
Well, I'm biased because Hathor was in it, so I personally didn't really like it.
What did you think about the clip show aspect of the book? I'm curious.
I thought that was a bit... I could understand why they were going that route based on the story behind it. But,
financial reasons, I'm sure.
But I think it was financial, because you look at the sets they were working with, they were quite impressive sets, and I think they decided that if we can get the sets done here and do these filler episodes, look at the sets we've got for next year. You know what I mean? Because those sets can be broken up and used for other parts of bits and pieces here and there. So they've now got their big sets they need for later on.
Well, the argument against that though is I think they're actually just reusing a lot of sets. Because like the
corridor sets they always did, but the big sets when they were walking down with the doors and the walls and all that, you hadn't seen those type of sets before. They were a lot larger. Whereas you always saw the part of the corridor. I think the nearest you got to a set like that was a sarcophagus room.
The sarcophagus room is definitely a reuse.
Aye.
And the thing is, what I'm guessing though is, I think the walls that you're seeing there, if it was me, I think they're the same walls from the sarcophagus rooms. I'm guessing what they'll do is they'll just reposition the walls. So the corridors become the sarcophagus room effectively, just the walls removed. Maybe like the staff's taking off the wall and stuff like that. Would be my guess.
It could have been. It's just I thought that's where they were going, because maybe yes they've completely run out of money in the last 5 or 6 episodes were just fillers. Whereas this one had a lot of scenery, but they threw the clip show aspects of it in, and I think this is probably why you thought the first couple of seasons were a lot clip shows, because
I remember
second or third episode from the end in season 1 was clip shows, and the final one here was clip show.
So what I think, so why I don't like the clip show aspect, And there's two things I'm going to say about this, and hopefully I remember what those two things are. I do ramble and I forget. But the two things I want to say about the clip show is the reason I don't like it is because when I watch the show, right, I tend to watch it. Right? So I'll sit. I don't have my phone out. I'm not distracted. And that obviously when I was a lot younger, phones didn't exist. So I watched the show and I was engaged with it. So when I watch an episode later on, that's basically showing me something I've seen already.
You're sitting there thinking,
going, I've seen this. I know what's happened. You don't literally need to show me the whole scene again to remind me because I've seen it. I know what's happened. So that's why I don't like it. But I understand why they do that because from their point of view, I think most audiences tend not to not watch, like especially today, most audiences are on the phone when the show's on.
Yeah, but so, this was a product of its time. So in that respect, I can understand why they do it now. But then...
But there's two things I want to say as well, but what I'm forgetting is when I watched it, I would have watched it on video. So I usually watched them like maybe back to back or like maybe it was on Sky, so they did like 2 episodes at a time, whatever. Whereas when this would have been originally released, it would have been released weekly. So like potentially you've got like 12 weeks or even
22
more, like
weeks.
Like
22 weeks if that's episode weeks 22.
Between the episodes. So from a televised point of view, I can almost say, okay, clip show, fair enough, because you're actually showing something that happened like over 20 weeks, half a year ago, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you're reminding people, oh yeah, I remember that. That was quite good. But from my point of view, and again, it's a purely personal thing, right? I'm not criticising the episode for that, but it's a purely personal reason that I don't like the episode. I guess I'm criticising the episode. Or
no, I don't have
my personal opinion is that I don't like the episode because I don't need to be reminded constantly of something that I've watched because generally speaking,
do you know what it reminds me of? Do you ever watch any of the American shows? They show you something up to an advert, and then as soon as they come back, and it's usually reality shows. Then after the advert, they show you the last 2 or 3 minutes of what had just happened before the interview.
I hate that. I
hate it, but because we watch it and we miss out all the adverts, all you do is you get a bit up, they break, it goes, it comes back down and shows you another 3 minutes of you just sat and watched. And I'm sitting there thinking, do they think Americans have got such an attention span deficit that they have to actually constantly remind them of something that happened less than 5 minutes ago?
Well, I think that's definitely the case nowadays where people are fighting against, shows have to fight against the fact that people are on their phone constantly. And I've seen it myself where you're on the phone, you'll be sitting next to people in the cinema and they're on the phone. By the way, if I'm ever elected into power, I guarantee you there'll be snipers positioned in every cinema. Anyone with a phone will be shot on sight and their bodies cremated instantly. There will be no judicial
I quite agree. What's the point in going to the cinema if you're actually going to sit on your phone?
Oh, I can't stand it. And then, like having a conversation with people or... to borrow a quote from Firefly, there's a special level in hell reserved for those people.
Yes.
Anyway, that's what they're up against. So that's what they've kind of got to do the programming for. I watched a show on YouTube. It was a monster truck race, right? I didn't know this was a thing, right, until this week. But because I used to have a game on the Nintendo SNES, right? So yeah, you know how old that is. And it was called Off-Road 4x4 or something. And it was basically trucks. It would drive around mud tracks and go over jumps and all kind of stuff. And I thought it was just a game.
No, I've known that's real. I've known that's been real for years.
And in the show, in the show, every time something happens, they show you the same thing
over
like 5 or 6 times from 5 or 6 different camera angles, and it's just over. And like when they go a commercial break, come back, what do they do? They show you, as soon as they come back, they show you like about a minute to 2 minutes of just rerun of what they've just shown you.
Do you know the first time I noticed it? I used to watch a thing called Manhunter.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically, it was a reality one that 2 or 3 people, I think it was 2 people. They started from a point and they had to get to another point. They had a map and a compass. And they could take what they wanted with them. And there was a guy who was a tracker, a professional tracker, didn't necessarily know the area, so he had a guide who knew the area. They started at a different point, then a rocket went off, that is the start. So the people had to try and get from A to B and avoid him, and he used to track them because he had his horse, but they were running whatever stuff like that. They would try and go through water and stuff like this, and they had 2 days to get there, so things like that. And every advert, because obviously I saw it without the adverts, but they would always go, "Ging! Advert, this is where the adverts would be," and then they would show you the last bit, the last half in a 3-minute clip show, and you're sitting there thinking, so why would you put the clip show in if you've cut the adverts out? But they still put
that's what I don't like about that, is because I just totally switch off as soon as they start to reiterate. That's where my brain just goes, I've seen this before, and then I lose interest in the show, because like what I have to do is you have to kind of wait until it finishes. So then that's where I get the phone in.
That's when I actually automatically go click and move forward, and I could have missed something because I always, as soon as I stop, I watch it from there. But how much have I missed prior to that, because I ain't going back in case I catch that again.
It just and
I like that program, but I disliked that aspect of it. I couldn't even understand that it's an American show, so do they think the American viewer hasn't got the attention span of the adverts? And not only they don't have the attention span, but they have to actually remind them what the last 15 minutes was about prior to that and show it in a 3-minute clip. But when you get a copy of that, which has got all the adverts removed, they still have "this is where the ad was" and show you those 3 minutes again. You're watching it all in all, but they still keep that in because it's part and parcel of the runtime of the show.
Yeah,
no, and I think that's what it is. They pad the runtime, and I think that's what these clip shows are: padding runtimes. They've got a story, a let fit into that. They padded the runtime to there.
Nothing puts me off a show quicker or insults my intelligence faster than that, because it's like what you're saying to the viewer is exactly what you says. I don't think you've watched this for the last 5 minutes. What I need to do is, because your memory span is about 30 seconds, I need to tell you again what's happened. And usually, and what they're telling you, it's like 9 times out of 10, it's the baddie has this thing that he needs to get to this thing, or this person's doing this and they need to get here. It's like you're really saying to the viewer, you can't remember those 3 things. This person, here, there. You know, it's like it really is never that more complicated.
Yeah, but
so I could understand if it was a political show, like the West Wing or something like that, where there's like so many elements sort of all over the place, and it's like you've got this guy, and he's chatting to this guy, and he's trying to get this bill passed, and it's like, yeah, you know what? Give me a wee summary for that, because like, yeah, I need a wee reminder of what's going on maybe mid-season to something you referred to like 5 episodes ago. I don't need a summary, a 30-second summary of what happened 2 minutes ago. I'm pretty sure I can remember that.
See, that was the one thing I dislike, and I think when I see a clip show, especially like as the ultimate episode of a season, then it's a padder. It's just padding out, because the story they've got could be told in 10 minutes, but we've got 45 minutes to tell it.
That episode could have gone almost anywhere else. Okay, and that could have been almost anywhere else in the season. And I think they should have taken the 5th race episode
and put that there.
That should have been the season finale.
Yeah. And
you could easily, I said earlier, they could easily have that as a cliffhanger where Jack O'Neill's deteriorating, make it look like he's really in pain or he's properly suffering. He steps through, and then there's maybe like just a minute where they're like, where is he? We don't know. How's he going to come back? I'm sorry, Captain, but we just don't know. And then boom, cut to black, and there's the season finale. Jack O'Neill is somewhere in the universe, no idea. I don't know, is he coming back?
And he can't come back because he's not got a remote to get the dial up. How can he get back through the Stargate?
Precisely. And there's an episode one. In fact, maybe even don't do that as episode 1. You know what? Throw the whole thing out. Do an episode 1 where Jack's gone. Set up the whole premise that he's dead. Like, no one knows where he is. Episode 2 comes in. He wakes up and he's with the Asgard. And then it's all about exploring the Asgard and discovering them. Then they bring him back. And it's like, oh, he is back. How much would that have subverted the audience's expectations? Season 3 starts with Jack's dead and we don't know where he is. And there's no hint towards that. That would have been...
It would have been better a way to do it. But I think the one with Hathor... Do you know why I don't like the Hathor character? Because of the first one she was in. It was the first episode she was in earlier on. And it was a case of... I'll put out some pheromones. And
I
men will
quite
do
like that though.
no, but and men will do exactly what they like. Yeah, all men are ruled by their pheromones. Nothing to do with the fact that maybe a few of them may have been gay, but they would have been attracted to the female pheromones anyway. And what about the female guards? It may have been gay. Why were they not attracted to the pheromones? Do you see what I mean?
I think it was a purely physiological thing, though. I think.
But it's just to me. It annoyed me as much as the emancipation one did. Because the emancipation one, it was a case of look at history. All women were treated like thingy. Yet you had a lot of female warriors throughout different historical parts, but they only go into that one and how she helps freedom. I didn't like that.
I don't know.
For the
I don't want to
emancipation.
get into that one, but
no,
I would say I think what they're saying is women have been treated poorly throughout history.
Yes.
And I think that's as far as that message was going. And I just want to say I completely agree with that. I think women have been treated
I'm not denying that, but the fact is she was the saviour, and as if just because you take a culture out of history and put it somewhere, it's going to stay like that. It's not going to grow as the rest of the human race had grown.
I thought you'd like that, because that's nice in black and white. It's like, here's the good guy coming in to beat up the bad guys. See, you like complicated storylines. You just don't realise it yet.
No. It's the fact is
you like the grey area.
The emancipation aspect of it. I just thought they were just playing too much into it, as if our culture won't grow unless somebody tells them they have to grow. Because I'm sure the people of the steppes, the Mongolian Empire, they would have been like that if nobody else outside the world would have changed how they do. Because the whole history, people change over time no matter what. And they're implying that you would have been exactly the same then as you were 500 years ago.
The point is, you change over time because of your interactions with the outside world. But I mean, okay, so I'll throw this as a possible argument. I won't say it's 100%, but you change over time because of the people you interact with and the other cultures you come into contact with. But the fact that they are transported from here to another planet with no other culture on board, it basically become a huge echo chamber, right? And we've seen what happens with echo chambers. You don't expand your views; they just become more entrenched.
Yes,
but that said, let me finish. They did actually start to change, because the good chief actually has a relatively enlightened view, and he is actually driving for change.
Yes.
And if you think about it, 500 years isn't really that long in the grand scheme of things.
Yes, but that'll take us to another thing about the Stargate franchise as well, which we mentioned last time.
Which is you've got all these cultures at different points in time. Somehow they've all been. Yeah, the
Stargate had actually been buried for over 2,000 years, 2,500 years maybe.
They were transported by ships though.
But
why cultures from different times? Like why would you take the Mongols, then fuck off, and then come and take the Egyptians, or whatever order it is, I suppose.
Then you've got the Indians, you've got the Aztecs, you've got... Yeah, I mean...
Then you take... Why would you... Why
would you come... And then it's the same idea as later on you find the Goulds. You've got one who is like Apophis, you had Ra, then you had the one that was the Chinese god, you had Hathor, who was another again. So you had a number of them as Egyptian gods and goddesses, and then you had one that was Chinese deities, and you had the other ones that were Indian deities and African deities, because you see all that and you're sitting there thinking they're also from different cultures at the different times as well. So implying that I
guess maybe they just, I suppose, that is a big plot hole, right? How have you taken cultures that occurred throughout different periods in the history of the planet? How did you do that? Unless it's a bit weird, isn't it?
But that's why I didn't like that one. But also the reason I didn't like the Hathor one was as men are just ruled by their genitalia, and my pheromones can actually make them do what I tell them.
Yeah, that's true.
But I don't think so.
That's so true.
I honestly don't think so. I've never thought that.
Really? I think I'm not defending the episode by any means. I think it's just playing on a bit of
trope.
A
it's
trope.
playing on a trope.
Yeah, it's playing on a trope. It's like all men think with a penis, and that's the limit of as far as they go, or at least they can be influenced very kind of along those lines. Is it a bad episode premise? I don't think so. Really, it's because
I could understand why they used that, because then it gave all the female cast members, the military and stuff like that, the chance to shine. However, why did only two of them get a medal? Why didn't the rest of them get a medal? Because only Carter and Fraser got a medal for it.
They're officers.
I know, but
medals, so
basically,
don't get medals.
But that's the thing. All those other female soldiers had to subdue the rest of the base, and without killing them.
Though, I preferred this way of doing it, because this was like here.
It was slightly different.
This was a genuine reason, like, so they've been infected or infatuated by like some chemicals, and like, okay, call it pheromones. You could just call it whatever, call it chemical A, right? Chemical A has caused them to lose their mind, right, and fall under the control of this person, right? If you look at other shows, how do they do it? Well, usually, most of the time, when they're trying to present a strong female antagonist, well, the way they do it is they present male antagonist or male antagonists, is that the right word? Who are basically just stupid or lazy or don't really understand it. So that's the way to do it. So I would actually much rather take this way of doing it, where it's like, well, actually, these are just people who have been infected by something that's like a chemical, and that gives the opportunity for, like, your lead female actor then to take over and save the day and all that kind of stuff, because that kind of makes sense. And it's a nicer way than just saying, nah, mate, this guy's thick as fuck.
But then again, I also dislike that trope as well.
Oh, I hate that.
I hate that trope where the female protagonist can only be good if the male is dumb.
Precisely.
No, sorry, has anybody ever met my mother?
Precisely. That's why Carter's so good in many of the episodes, because she goes toe to toe with like the
exactly.
male actors.
They don't make Jack weaker just to make her stronger. They made her strong and him strong, and it makes and to me that's the way to do it. And that's why I don't like episodes where it's almost a case of we have to use your masculinity against your stuff like that. It's just I've never liked those type of tropes. It's that aspect. I remember watching the old Carry On movies, and they did this thing, and I'm sitting there thinking, really? Yeah, I mean, there was an old Carry On one. It was about revolutionaries, and the women and the men were all in it together, right? And they were all comrades. It was a typical Carry On silly movie, right? And then the men had decided to change, and the women no. So the men are all held up in this building, and they wanted to get inside, and they says, let's see how strong these men are. So they stripped off their baran pants and walked in, and all the guys are going. And I'm sitting there thinking, really? Even in a comedy, I knew it was a stupid comedy and it was going to do it. And I'm sitting there still thinking, really? Because it is a trope. It is a silly trope. But that's the reason why they did it. But it was also to show how men are, I'll no shoot anybody now. Really?
Yeah.
And I dislike those. I've always disliked, even in a comedy, I've disliked those tropes. And it's the same as, I loved the old Carry On movies, but I hated certain tropes of it, and you're sitting there thinking, really? No.
You know what? I'm actually on the fence on that. I can't take a. So initially, right, I was very much of the opinion of it's just a bit of comedy. I don't really mind it.
Oh, I love them. I don't deny that, but it's the tropes. It's the tropes.
I'm talking about that tropey thing. I mean, from my point of view, it was always just a comedy. Like when I watched the original half-hour episode, I just saw it as that. But what you said just kind of changed my mind a wee bit. I do see where you're coming from with that, but I'm still on the fence. Like, so that what I'm saying is, I was here, and in my idea, you're here in your idea. You've moved me a wee bit to the middle. but I'm not sure. So I don't have a strong opinion of that yet, but I'll have to think about it for a while and just see what I come up with.
But it's the same as I suppose it's like a lot of tropes, like as you were saying earlier with the ones with the going back in time. Those tropes they take you right out of it because it's not so much the time, not so much the time travel one, because as you said you've watched Doctor Who. It's in a program like this. I used to say it was the Doctor Who thing. Like I would say the Daleks use the thing to climb the stairs, and people are saying it's a Dalek, it's a stupid science fiction trope. I says I don't care if you give a program rules. As soon as they break those rules they've set, don't care if it's sci-fi, fantasy, whatever, then it takes you out of it. This is how can you get taken into it when you've got silver robots and Dalek things and people dressed in stupid masks? I says because they've given you a trope, they've given you rules of a universe. As soon as they break the rules of the universe, it takes me out of it, and I find it difficult to get back into it. And it's that aspect of it. I'm quite happy with the Daleks with plungers and a gun. How do they build themselves? How do they build other things? I remember early ones, they used to go up to a tray, put their plunger down and take an arm which had a wee grippers and stuff like that. So I thought maybe they had one that had very delicate things. So they sort of played that there, but after that they never did, and it was always the plunger. But people are saying, but how does that not take you out? Because they've given something somewhere a reason for that to work. But as soon as you say, it's all electronic, okay, what about the electronics? You can't get away from that breaking the continuity type thing.
For me, a good sport analogy would be something like if you're watching a game of football or soccer if you're in America. Imagine the guy just, you've got the rules established and you're enjoying the game. Imagine someone just picked up the ball and started running down the pitch. It would completely, for you, it would ruin the game, right? Because they've broken the rules. That's the kind of the same impact here. You know, just because it's science fiction, you've still got pre-established rules and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, and that's what I like. That's what I quite agree with.
When you break those rules, it would have the same effect as someone picking up the ball and running down the pitch on the thing. It would ruin the game. So
unless it's shinty.
Unless it's shinty, or unless it's American football or rugby.
I bet shinty is basically a half and half between American football and British football. It's shinty's literally because you can kick the ball and run up, and then you can pick it up and run, but you have to kick it to score. It's sort of.
That's what shinty is. Where you've got you're thinking shinty is the crossover between hockey and lacrosse.
So it's that's shinty.
No shinty. Pick up the ball and whack it. I think that's got to be. That must be the most dangerous sport on the planet. I mean, imagine getting hit in the head with that. You'd be dead instantly.
I know what shinty is. You are right. It's the thing, but there is the the Irish. Is it just Irish rugby then? There's a goal and they have to actually score the goal, but they run up and down with the ball and they have to kick it in the goal and stuff like that. I think it could be as maybe I'm getting the two of them mixed up, because shinty, yes, you're right, it's the one with the stick, and basically it's like hockey and lacrosse, a bit between both. But it's like that. It's a case of the rules are fine. You can change the rules as long as you say this is the new rules, like this is an alternate. But if you've got rules and then suddenly you break them, if you give a reason why it can only be broken this time, and it sort of works, I'm okay. Like the sunspots, that didn't work. That worked for me because yes, you can't duplicate it, because as soon as a sunspot happened, it's already passed. It's like turning around and saying I'm sitting waiting for the green light. Oh, it's already passed. That's why I didn't move, because you didn't see it until it's already went to a red light again. It's that aspect of, so they sort of, when we aspects like that, if there's a rule, stay within the rules. If you take it out of the rules, even if it's a silly sci-fi, it'll take me out of it. And I think the thing with Hathor always takes me out of it, because I don't see males and females that way. Maybe that's what it is. Because I don't see males being ruled by their hormones, and I don't see females being ruled by their ticking clock, as people say. It's so things like when you always see a woman in a programme and it's it's a baby.
Why can't women be ruled by their hormones as well?
But it's the same as you look at a lot of the tropes. It's like there's a baby and all the women are suddenly like that. That's no true. Really?
No,
There's some women who do, some men who do. There's some women who just don't care about kids. There's some men who just don't care about kids. Everybody's different, but it's when they generalise. I just hate that aspect of those tropes.
No, I think I agree. I'm still on the fence with that.
But that's why I don't really like those tropes, and that's what it is. It's because but so Hathor being in it sort of gave me a negative connotations towards this episode. It was an okay episode otherwise because it's a clip show, but there's a story behind the clip show. It's not just clip. It's they're trying to find information from them. So I could understand why they were using the clip show aspect of that.
So, yeah, no, I mean the nature of the clip show makes sense from the point of view of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, obviously from a budgetary point of view, two things to that. I would have said, why not actually do something cool. If you're going to do a clip show, do something cool. Like, use a camera angle you've not seen before.
Uh-huh.
Right, so presume, I don't know, I'm guessing, but there would be multiple camera angles filming the scenes, I assume. Maybe not. But if you're going to do a clip show, show a different camera angle. So show something that we've not seen before, which would at least give you that I would enjoy that. Incidentally, I was just watching through the footage, and I'm pretty sure that the blankets that they're all wearing when they wake up are non-stick matting, stick matting, so the non-slip matting.
Aye.
I'm pretty sure that's what they're wearing. And incidentally, I'm pretty sure Sam Carter's the only one that's naked.
Well, there's a surprise female in it.
There you go. There's this. Yeah. Unless I'm wrong here, I'm just going through. No, I think. Yep, he wakes up enclosed. Jack wakes up clothed. Does he wake up clothed? Yeah, I think all the male characters wake up clothed. And of course, I'm completely open to being corrected on that, but I'm pretty sure. Oh no, yeah, he wakes up topless. No, I apologise. I retract that statement.
So after the first time, maybe he's got clothes on. That's what it is. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's just I could understand why they did. I could understand why they did it, and they were trying to go. Now you don't know who's going to be a host next or a Jaffa for Hathor. But there was other wee bits in it, like for instance, Ernest was back in it as part of the clip from the Torment of Tantarus. Yeah. And that was last year. That was a year before. So they're not just going back to episodes within this season. They were going back to the last season as well. So,
I've completely forgotten. So the whole purpose of the whole point of the episode is that the Gould are Hathor. Hathor, is that right?
Hathor,
is that right?
Yes.
She's trying to get the code for the device that allows them to send the code into Epic Stargate Command so they can open the iris. They're trying to get an SG1 code. I don't know. It feels like a very very elaborate setup to try and get the code. Surely, could have just tortured them. I think that would be a far more efficient and quicker way of getting the code out of them.
Or as they said, just put a Gould inside one of them. They know all their information.
That's actually quite a good point. Yeah. Gould, and now that's some slaves and boss job done.
Because unless she can't control it.
You know what? That actually completely ruins the episode for me. Why not just stick a Gould in each of them and then that's it, job done? Or you can just make them Gould and send them back as SG1 and infiltrate and destroy. Yeah.
But then again, is it a case of has she got control of Goulds and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, maybe. But
that's what I'm saying. It opens it up and stuff like that. And then in an actual SGC, you've got Teal'c, who, because he's not allowed to go and search for him, okay, I'm leaving then. And Teal'c's leaving.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't know what's going to happen to Teal'c because he's leaving because they won't let him go and search, so he's going to search himself.
It's a bit of a contrivance, really.
So they would basically let someone who knows the layout, and although he says, I'll never tell, even if they kill me, if they torture me. That's
With
not the
Teal'c, I
point.
believe that actually.
Aye,
Well,
but
I
that's
don't
not
know.
the point. It's still a case of would you let somebody go with all that information just because you don't think?
I do notice in this case, Daniel's actually had a haircut. This is the transition to his shorter hair in this.
Aye, because from then on you'll see him. They'll do less sneezing and stuff like that. Because this season you'll notice there was hardly any. There was only wee bits here and there, and it was to do character flaws, as it were. But you noticed it was less and less. He wasn't having the sneezing fits and stuff like that because he was going away from the James Spader, and he was coming into his own in this season. Because the first season he almost duplicated how James Spader did it. In this one, it was a case of he was getting into his own character, and from now on, you'll probably see more of the Michael Shanks, Daniel Jackson.
So let's just wrap up this one and say, what was your favourite part of that episode then? We'll finish on a positive.
I think it was the part with, believe it or not, the clips. That's how bad I thought it was. The clips were the better part. The Braytac, the Apophis, and the Ernest and Catherine and the Tormentor Tantalus. Every time I see that, that's just one of my favourite episodes of the first couple of seasons. Tormentor Tantalus is with Ernest. And the fact that you saw that bit again, and the fact that you get Braytac and you also get the Apophis is the clips shows, because obviously it showed you the one where he was dying and stuff like that, so it showed the emotional one again.
Yeah.
So that's why, although yes, I'd seen them less than an hour before I'd actually sat and watched this episode, those episodes were quite entertaining in the fact that they actually showed the better. They didn't just show, oh look. They actually put three probably really good ones, 3 or 4 really good ones. And I think that's what it was, and that shows you how bad I thought, on the whole, the rest of the episode was.
Fair play. But
what about you?
The bit when Sam Carter wakes up, because when I was that age watching that, I had the biggest crush on Sam Carter ever. So that for me is stuck in my memory.
Remind me next time you dig out one of my pictures I got at a Comic-Con one year.
Oh dear.
It's basically like she's. I think you were there. It was the one where she's draped in the American flag.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the picture of me with that woman dressed as Gamora.
No. I'm talking about the picture I've got of Amanda tapping in the American flag.
Oh, I've not seen that. You'll have to provide that with me. Direct message that to me. For research reasons, I'm sure.
Yes, but it's basically Amanda Tapping's gorgeous. What can you say? She's basically she's one of the better actors. Because have you even tried to look at Sanctuary? She was amazing in that as well.
I've not watched Sanctuary yet. No, actually.
Well, after maybe Eureka, we'll look at Sanctuary.
Oh, that's a good shout. Actually, I quite enjoy that.
Sanctuary is really good.
But joking. Oh, I mean, I'm not actually joking. That was for me when I was younger the best part of that episode.
Growing up, I
guess they were banking on that.
I'm saying nothing. Remember, Walkabout was out when I was a kid.
I would agree. For me, the bit that I liked the most about the episode was the start, right up to the first clip, because that's when they're
you don't know what's happening.
Yeah, you know what's happening. It's like you think that actually, okay, maybe he has been frozen in time or frozen in cryogenics. He's woken up and said, "Whoa, this is cool." And it's like, how's this going to twist on its head? Is it real? And that's great. And then it gets into the clip show bit, and then it's like, great, off the cliff. And then Samantha Carter waking up, and then off the cliff.
Aye, and then it gets to the Hathor bit, and it goes, yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Right, so far we had 4 playbacks.
Oh, very good. 2 more hours, I'm sure.
Average watch time 35 minutes.
Oh, right, okay.
So,
I mean, I am watching it as well. Just
you're the one concurrent viewer. We had 2 concurrent viewers a few times throughout it. But we've had the concurrent viewers and playbacks. That means it's people watched it after it started. So they don't get brought in with the concurrent viewers. So I think we had 2 concurrent viewers right at the beginning, and 5 minutes in, the other one bugged off. Probably Rachel.
Cool. Oh, that's good.
But we've had 4 playbacks, which means 4 people are playing it on catch up. But
awesome. Well, welcome to whoever's watching.
Yes.
Why are you watching? But anyway, that's great that you are.
Definitely. And remember, next time it's Eureka, then we'll get on to season 3. But the way we go with season 3, that could take us another couple of months.
That could be a couple of months down the line. Yeah, we'll have to refine our question Q&A process and get it down a bit more. But I enjoyed that. I've enjoyed this.
I enjoyed talking about them because we've got there's different aspects of each of the episodes we see, and we like or not like, and things we miss.
Well, today, I mean, for example, the chat, you've sort of made me reconsider a wee bit. One of the episodes we talked about earlier on, the trope thing about women, about men. It's like, well, you know what? Before I just saw that as literally as a joke, I saw it for the humour that I think it was intended as. But I think your point is a valid one. So
see what happens when you've got an old boy who had more years to think about it.
A lot more shite to talk, I think, is what you meant to say.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
But no, so yeah.
Hey, remember, Gordon, as I keep on saying, Taurus the Bull, very apt.
I thought you kept on saying, what's it, classic, not old.
Remember, I'm not old, I'm classic.
That's the one.
But remember, birth sign is Taurus the Bull.
That's another trope, though, isn't it?
Yes.
You can't get with it.
I'm full of it.
Certainly are, full of Taurus.
Yes. But anyway, next week or the week after, we'll be looking at Eureka. And
next week, Eureka,
I'll be looking over the first 12 episodes, is it? Or is it 8?
Correct. I think it was 12. I think I said 8 and then it turns out to be 12. Unless I said 12 and it turns out to be 8.
Well, I could tell you in about 2 seconds. Give me so I've got them all listed here, ready to go. Eureka. Eureka. Season 1. It's 12 episodes.
I've watched most of them. I've watched them all numerous times. I mean, so full disclosure, I've watched Eureka from start to finish maybe 3 times, I think. And the current run-through will be my 4th run-through of watching it.
And the nearest I got to watching Eureka,
Unwrapped the Box,
is...
Oh yeah, Warehouse 13.
That's the nearest I got to it. Because I've watched that about 4 or 5 times.
That's interesting because that's actually the spin-off from Eureka. So Eureka was set up... Eureka's had a few spin-offs actually. I think it was Warehouse 13 and was there one other? I think there were 2 shows spun off from Eureka. It was Warehouse 13 was one of them.
Was there not one about a town? I'm trying to remember. Was there not another one about a town? Or was it not Erie, Indiana? Because it was Erie, Indiana. That was a weird one.
I can't remember.
Do a search for spin-offs.
Yeah, that's what I've done. Hide and Seek miniseries. Oh, I've not seen that.
Don't recognise that one either.
Oh, I have seen that as a web series. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. So there was a wee web series that was only like 6 episodes, short episodes. I think they're only maybe 20 minutes long or something. It only had a limited number of cast in it. That's going to bug me now. I know it was Warehouse 13 and sure there was a second one because Warehouse 13 had the guy. What's his name? Yeah, you'll know who he is. You know who I'm talking about. But the main protagonist, like the scientist, he actually played a scientist in Eureka who died. And he actually he dies in Eureka, but he plays a different character in Warehouse 13. This is where it's really weird. He plays a different character in Warehouse 13 to the one he played in Eureka, but they're still connected shows.
You're talking about the guy, basically...
Curly hair, short.
With the glasses, basically he's got his carpet bag all the time.
That's him.
Yeah. I keep on going to say Albert, but it's no. It's... Oh, because Pete and is it Pete and Kate, and then you've got I'll need to shove my glasses on. That's the thing.
Was it Prime Val? Did you say the Prime Val?
You've got Pete Latimer and Micah Bering, and you've got Claudia and Steve are the two, but the one is the main one is Artie. He plays Artie, so it's Saul Ribnick. He plays Artie Nielsen. He's the guy with the glasses and the wee carpet bag.
Yeah, that'll be him.
Aye, Artie.
He's
I kept going to say Alfie, but it's Artie, so I wasn't that far off. But yeah, the Pete Latimer and Micah, I love those two. Basically, I think Pete was just fun because he was a big kid that had never grown up, and then when Claudia came in, she was just amazing. Wasn't he keen on Jinxie?
See, I never watched Warehouse 13 that much. Oh. I know I've seen an episode or two, so I think I know what you mean. She's like she's like the engineering geek type.
Yes, that's Claudia. Yeah. She wasn't in the first couple of seasons. She came in later on.
Right.
I liked her from day dot. She was really good when she came in. But my favourite was Pete, and then obviously Micah. They were the two at the beginning, and I liked both of their chemistry together. Really good. Then at one point you had 7 of 9. What do you call her? She played Pete's wife. And
I did not know that.
And there's an episode where he's getting divorced, and she invites him up, and it's because of a artifact. Basically did it, but I'm sure Jerry Ryan. I'm sure she's in it a couple of times. She plays Pete's ex-wife.
Yeah, Saul Rubinek.
Saul Rubinek. He plays Artie Nielsen.
Yeah, that's the guy. He's the guy I'm thinking about.
Aye.
Yeah, because like the whole premise of Warehouse 13, as I remember, is that's where they're storing a lot of the artifacts and experiments from Eureka.
Well, the Warehouse 13 is basically is the warehouse number 13. They've been throughout history. There's been different warehouses, and then this is just the current one. And it basically can expand to get all the artifacts. And that's the thing. So they collect all the artifacts to make sure that they don't infect the world.
That's right. I do remember that from, even about it. Basically, yeah.
But I'm looking forward to Eureka. I must admit that's going to be fun because it's a programme. I've watched maybe the first episode, maybe this part of the second one. I've got the very basics of knowledge about it. I know it's about a town called Eureka and weird things happening because somebody's moved in and they're finding out about it. That is it. I can't remember the characters. I'm sure if it's in Warehouse 13, if it's similar story type and humour.
Same universe, crossover actors. There's there's a crossover episode in Eureka where the actors from Warehouse 13 go to Eureka, and there's a crossover episode from. And
I think I remember that one. I think I remember that episode from the Warehouse 13 side.
Yeah. So I think you'll enjoy that definitely.
I think there's a couple of mentions in Warehouse 13 of Eureka. So there is.
Oh, definitely, yeah. No, there absolutely is. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm keen because it's something I've no seen.
Well, you'll get to see it all next week.
Exactly. Season 1 will be done by next Saturday. Notes taken and questions ready to be asked.
Absolutely, and I'll be ready to ask you your opinion on all the different aspects of it because. It's
and you know me, I'm very opinionated.
Oh, absolutely. That's the fun part.
Well, Gordon and lady and gentlemen, 2 concurrent viewers at the moment, and we're on 5 playbacks. So, hello and cheerio. But thank you very much for joining us on our final part of season 2 of Stargate.
It took 3 weeks.
It only took 3 weeks, But then again, if it only took us 10 minutes, it wouldn't be a great show. Would we want to talk about all the time? Would it?
Precisely, yeah.
So,
if we just blast through it would be, yeah.
Exactly, so I'm expecting Eureka to take as long. 12 episodes, half the amount of episodes, so it shouldn't take half as much.
No, I think we should in theory get through Evolve episode 1 in one sitting, or series 1 in one sitting.
Good,
because it's half the one.
Yeah, exactly. So,
cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, and over to you, Gordon. We'll say our cheerios.
Cheerio, guys. Thanks for watching.
And remember, I'm not old. I'm classic. PG may be out. Bye.